It's hot. It's real hot. I went on a bike ride earlier through the park. It was beautiful, but very hot. I ran into a band while I was on my bike ride. A brass band. This brass band, it happened to contain a friend of mine, Pete. Great guy, great trombonist. He had just gotten back to the city after being away in his family compound, escaping the coronavirus. But now they're back. I think they're called Fresh Cut Brass. So check them out. little band advertisement here pre-stream. But anyway, yeah, what's up Sartak? What's up Pabrito? How are y'all doing? Welcome. I think I'm pretty excited for today. We did a lot of cool stuff last time. We figured out TypeScript a little bit more than we did before. We figured out React a little bit more than we did before. We figured out Redux a little bit more than we did before. Some people were giving me advice on the stream about how Redux worked, and let me tell you, I got absolutely none of it. Like, they showed me some state diagrams, how the actions flow, how the state flows, all these components. It was kind of wild, and I didn't get any of it. But luckily for me, I'm not starting this project from scratch. So there's a lot of stuff to cargo cult from. And I think, yeah, you know, it went pretty well. We did some cool things, and I'm excited to work on it a little bit more. I feel the promise of front end right now. I feel like there's a lot of, you know, you can really make with front end. Think of an idea and put it into action. I like that. I don't know how to do it, but I like it, theoretically. But yeah, so, you know, let's hit it. Let's hit that, bam, hit that desktop. So there's something interesting, which is that I added these sub badges, which are awesome. You guys, I commissioned badges for subscribers from a guy in Serbia. Maybe it's a team of guys. I don't actually know. But I commissioned them, and they made these sub badges for me, and they are absolutely fantastic. What's interesting is I don't see them yet. So I think that they might need to be kind of, you know, approved. You know how Twitch has that approval process for emotes, so it might take a week or something. But I'm pretty excited that they exist now. It's gonna be exciting. Why not use PHP? Well, you know, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Dan's game. Oh shit, we do have a little subscribe. Look at that. Look at that little emote badge. Isn't that cute? Isn't that cute? Look at that. That makes me so happy. Look at that. Doesn't that look professional, you guys? You got the small brain with 2 to the N. And you can imagine what happens as you subscribe for more than 2 months or 1 month or whatever. I bet you can guess. So I'm super pumped about these emotes. It's really exciting. But what's up, man? Nice to see you too. Is that an L or an I in your name? It's an L, right? Lef, not an I. It's a little ambiguous. It's one of those, like, you wouldn't want to put that in your password because you wouldn't be able to figure out what it is. But so check it out. Let me show you what we've got going on a little bit. Just for a second here. If I think everything's already running, actually. I think all I need to do is open up a session. So what I've been working on is this page in the front end. Let me turn down this music a little bit. I'm trying out some new music. I found this guy on Twitter who has awesome free, copyright-free beats called Churna Beats. And I'm trying this music out because I think all of the music I've been playing is technically copyrighted, so I feel a little bit bad about it. So I'm gonna stop doing that and use this guy who generously is giving his music away. I mean, I need to put a link to him in my description or something. But okay, so check this out. This page did not exist before. It's called the sessions page. And the idea of the sessions page is that it shows you all of the active sessions on the database. We have this thing it shows you the historical stuff that's going on, right? Like a lot of cool stats, really, really cool stuff that already exists. So for example, if I open up a new session over here and I said something like, I don't know, select 2 + 5, 4, and then I go back to my statements page, the historical statements page, I'm gonna see that there was this select star, anything plus anything fingerprint. And there's some stats about it. How many retries does it have on average? The execution count, how many rows were affected, the latency, and it gets more interesting, because there'll be a mean and a standard deviation. You can see some stats, and you can even click into this thing and see its diagnostics, its plan statement, which would be more interesting if this was actually an interesting statement. Some statistics about it, really cool stuff. And here's what the sessions page does. Well, right now it doesn't do very much, but it shows you what's currently going on. So if I went back to my open session over here and I said select PG sleep 1000, then over here, when this refreshes, which right now I think it's refreshing every 5 seconds. I don't know what the right thing is to do here. But you can see that it's got this active statement, select PG sleep 1000. It's telling you how much memory it's using. It's telling you how much memory it's ever used maximum in this particular session. Some retries, I don't know. The last statement that ran successfully, the number of statements that have been run total in this session. But the truth is that there's too much information. There's way more information that I could show here. And I can't fit it all into one kind of table here. So what I want to do is make a little, click-in page, the way that they have on the statements page. So I'll be able to click this session, maybe the start time, and it's going to bring me into a page kind of like the statements page, like a details page, like a session details page. And that's what I'm going to work on today. Yeah, I did separate sessions. The reason, right, I started out having kind of a tab page here. So in the statements page, you could click these tabs and say, give me the historical statements or give me the active sessions. But I decided that I didn't like that. Also because it was kind of just, I don't know, it wasn't very modular the way the code was working. They were sort of sharing this search bar thing, and I didn't really like it. So for now, I'm just going to make it a separate page. And truthfully, if I do try to get this into the code base, I think it'll be an easier sell if it's just a totally separate page. Because, I could also just hide this, if we don't want to ship it or whatever, I could just not include this little sessions clicker thing on the side, and you can just navigate to it, top level statement. So yeah, that's the plan. I think it's going to be a little bit more trying to figure out how this stuff works based on this old page, like we did last time. But that should be fun. So let's dive in. Let's make it happen. Let's make our font size bigger. I need to remember to do this pre-stream. Otherwise, nobody can see what the heck I'm doing. But really, I haven't done, I've done very little since the last stream. So if you were here, it's just going to be picking right off, picking back up from a sleep. Right, so here's our new page. It's called the sessions page. It's a TypeScript file. And it's actually very simple now. It used to be super complicated because we were multiplexing that page to do two different things, which I didn't like that. And now it's I think everything sort of has a purpose that I understand more or less at this point, which is a lot nicer. There's stuff you can, if you click the sorter here, it'll actually persist into the URL, so then you can deep link into these things, which is kind of neat. There's some questions just visually, what do I actually want to display top level here, which I don't know the answer to, but those are things that can be debated. So I think the first question that we would want to answer is where would we want to link from in this column? And I guess it's the start time, in the statements page, there's something very straightforward, which is the statement. That's sort of the primary key in a sense of this table data that we're showing. In the sessions table, we could include an ID. Sessions do have this really long int64 ID, something like that you could, I guess, put at the top thing, but it's just not useful looking. You know what I mean? So it's almost as if what I want is I want to be able to click the start time, but then, if I have a URL that's going to have the full ID or something like that, maybe that's the way to do it. So maybe each of these things should really kind of know their ID, but not have to display it, right? So I guess to start doing that, what we would want to do is go down to where we have our render sessions thing. So we make this table, right? Just remembering here. And the table have columns, and each of the columns has kind of the things that get printed out. And I think these are just strings. So I think the idea would be that if I include like an anchor link thingy here, then I could deep link into some other page that I'm going to make up. I don't know. Maybe I should start with the page though. I'm not sure what the right way to do it is. I think so. In order to make a new page, I think what I do, there's this there's kind of this like big routes page that we would need to edit. So where does that live again? The routes page is kind of it's the big mapping at the very top level of kind of what TypeScript file is associated with what URL, basically. I think is it this app.tsx thing? Yeah. So check it out. Here's our new route. We added this sessions route, and it goes to our new sessions page. So I think what we want to do is kind of clone what they did here, which is to add a new route that points to something specific. And I guess I would like this to be the ID of the session, I suppose. So I guess the reason we do this curly brackets thing, well, I don't really know, I guess. This is back to the fact that I still don't really know the syntax of this language that I'm working in, but it's okay. And I guess what's kind of interesting here is that it looks like in the statements page, you can actually deep link into the top level statements page itself using something called app adder, which I don't quite know what this is. Presumably there's a way to like, oh, you know what I bet this is? I bet it's so that when you're over here, you can pick a particular app to look at. So I think this is the app adder, so to speak. I'm like, give me all of the statements from this app called internal. So I guess that we don't really care about that. I think what we want to do is make a session singular and link into that. And I guess we can name this whatever we want, it looks like. So I'll name it session ID. Session ID. It kind of looks like everybody's naming them adder though for some reason. So maybe I should do that too. Session adder. And I wonder if this is a constant defined somewhere. It totally is. Yeah, I don't quite understand why they define these separately. That's kind of weird. I guess I'll just make one anyway. I mean, it's kind of odd because like they define this constant here, statement adder. It's named statement, but then they don't use it. Like you could theoretically use it here too. I guess if you put a colon, that's kind of meaning to the app like, hey, the next thing that I'm going to type is actually a variable, and that's going to get interpreted by whatever page is serving this particular route. I think that's what's going on. That's my guess anyway. We'll find out. So this is going to be my session adder, and I'll import this, I guess. Do I need to? Yeah. And the component is going to be this new thing, the session details page, I guess. And I'm going to need to make this, so that's fun.
Databanks.
Hey, Eads21, thanks for that follow. Appreciate it. Session details page, huh? React, hard. Look, Eads, if you're a React person, then I just want to let you know which is something. I am not a React person. I'm dabbling. I'm playing around. I'm copying things that are already here. So I'll probably learn more from you guys than I'm going to learn, or that I'm going to know myself in a sense. But it'll be fun. You're a React developer? That's awesome. React router passes the bindings from the URL into my component. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Cool. So I'm going to make a new file. I'm going to call it, I guess I'm going to call it sessiondetails.tsx. So make a new TypeScript file. Does anybody know what the difference between like TS and TSX? Like what is that exactly? I don't quite understand it. So session details. I mean, I know that there's a different suffix, but I don't really know what the differences of anything about that are. So I guess what I do, I'm gonna make I'll just copy this whole page that I made since I don't really remember all the things that you need to make. And I will Oh, you know what I should really do? I should really copy it from the other, the statement details page. Because I think that one is going to be more of a simple, more similar to what I'm trying to build than this other thing. No difference at all. TSX indicates you're using the JS HTML-ish syntax. Okay. Interesting. So it's just like it's just like a hint for people who are reading the code, maybe? So I'll grab all these guys. I don't know what it does yet, and I'm just gonna not use most of this, but I will copy it. Okay. So we're gonna call it session details. We're gonna call it session details props, session details state. And I guess, what is the stuff that they need to put in props in this case? You don't prefer to use TypeScript? You've never used it? Just a convention for the good people. The good people, I see what you mean. That's funny.
The computer's hooked into over 1,000 databanks throughout the world.
Hey, thanks for the follow, Cleaverson. Right, so there's this thing where we define these own props, and then we combine them, I guess, with the default props, I think is what this means. And so the question is, what do I need in my props, right? What the other page has, session details props, what the other page has is it's got like a single set of information about a statement. It's got an error maybe. It's got some node names. I don't know if I need any of this stuff. Refresh statements. Ooh, this is probably like one of those redux things that I defined earlier. So maybe I will need to have one of those as well. One thing that I'm curious is about, like, so I know that the way that I fetch these sessions is that I get all of them at once. There's no current way for me to ask for just a single session. And I'm wondering if that's going to give me trouble. Like, how does the data flow work here? That's kind of the first question, right? Like, let's say I'm this other page that already works, the statement details page. How does it get its data? I think there's something called cached data that comes. Oh, right, it's this selector thing. So it combines the cached statements data, which is everything, and it gives me back, presumably this is the thing that actually filters it, right? So yes, this is where we connect everything together. This is cool. Okay, so it says, get me the parameter that matched the name statement adder from the URL. I guess this is what this is. And then I've got my statement name from the URL, and I can give a big fat props. I think this is my props, right? This is my, no, this is not my props. This is my single statement statistics object that we've made up here. So this is like all the information that we need to render this page, basically. So I think I'll want to do something very similar in my new page. So I'm going to grab all this stuff, stick it at the bottom. And we can do this first. I think it'll be straightforward, more straightforward to do this stuff first. So I'll say select session. And I'm going to take my session state, which we defined this last time. Session state, which I guess I have to import. Or no, it's sessions page state. Is this right? No, this is not right. This is like some information about what the page looks like. I think I do have something like this from last time, right? So sessions page at the bottom, my selector, it's just called session state. Weird. I guess, do I need to redefine this thing, or can I just import it? I think I can just import it. I can't import it because I didn't export it. So if I export it, then I think this should work okay. Hello from Argentina. Welcome to the stream. Hey, Mohammed Button Live. I am working on a page on CockroachDB, the database, that is designed to show me all of the current sessions that are currently active on the database. I can't currently show it because nothing is compiling, but I will, why don't I, it would be nice if I had a way to show the current status without having to comment everything out, because I feel like that's a common thing that I would want to do. But at the moment, a lot of stuff is a bit broken. How come that comment didn't work exactly? Unclear. There we go. Okay, so here is kind of the current state of this sessions page. It shows you all of the sessions that are running. Right now we just have one. And what I'm working on right now is I want to be able to click in to this particular session and get more details about it. React.js and Vue.js, which is best? I have no idea. I'm a total newbie at front end, so you tell me. I'll take your opinions. I'm working on React right now, but I've never used Vue, so I basically have no clue. But yeah, I should update my project. Welcome everybody, new viewers. Hope you're doing well. Let me just update this project here. Project and edit project, adding a session details page to the front end of CockroachDB. Cool. Cool. So back to our new page. We're gonna take this sessions. Wait, this is the old page. The new page is over here. We're gonna take this session state. We're gonna grab out the statements. Property statements does not exist on type sessions cache data reducer state. What is the deal with that? Is there some sort of like privateness problem here? Maybe I just need to redefine this session state thing somewhere else. I don't know. I'll just do that. See if that fixes matters. I really don't know how this pick thing works.
Databanks.
Yo, Facundas G, thanks for that follow. Unclear why this is broken, but maybe like there's something off with the types. Maybe if I just like fix the rest of this stuff up, it'll kind of fix itself. That happened last time. I think it's just because this like selector thing is super complicated. So let me actually, rather than copy the other thing, let's copy the one that we had from the other day. So I'll just take this guy, select session. Oh yeah, it's obviously problematic because I was just cargo culting from something that is not relevant to what I'm working on. So that's fine. So the way that we work on this stuff is that it's a lot simpler than what we have in this other situation because all of the data that we need is encapsulated inside of this session object. So what we need to do to pick out just a particular session is filter our sessions list by the ID of the one that was passed into us. And so I guess what we need to do is, the main thing that I needed to figure out, right, was like, how do I get that? I think it's this filter by router params predicate thing is the way to, wait, no. What was I just looking at? What was I just looking at that told me how to grab, just get match param by name? This is what I care about. Props.match. What is props.match? Oh, this is not something that we've defined. This is like something that's part of React Router, it looks like. Tinspin, hey, I made my own distributed database over HTTP, which simply stores JSON and files and uses the file system for indexing. Why are you guys over engineering this much? That's a good question. I mean, have you, what happens when you try to, I don't know, use that at scale? I'll ask you, have you tried to use it for stuff? I wish it was that simple too. If it was solvable by that would be great. And my job would be, I don't know, I wouldn't have to do all this work, I think. But that's cool. If that works for your use case, you know, more power to you.
Computers hooked into over 1,000 databanks throughout the world.
I'm not clicking that link. That seems sus. Thanks for that follow, KenQZZZZ. Right, so I'm gonna grab this match param thing, right? So we need to get, we're gonna use session adder. So it's like, give me the current value for the variable defined by session adder, which I guess I need to import as well. And I need to also, make a variable for these props, since I guess in the other thing I didn't really need to touch props at all. I didn't have a variable name for it. And then I guess I get to use a filter, right? And this is really a session ID, by the way. Ken QZZ, any tips for React beginners? Well, I'm a React beginner. Really, for sure, I'm a React beginner. I promise you that. And my tip is try to find, basically the way that I've been learning it so far, which has been working okay, is I found an app, which is this app that I'm working on, that already mostly exists. And I'm learning by copying and changing things that already exist in the app. So I found a page that's similar to the page that I want to make, and I'm copying it and modifying it to fit my purposes. And I think that's a pretty decent way to learn. It's working for me anyway. But I don't know, it depends on your level of comfortability with programming in general, I think. I think it's might be easier for you if you've done a lot of programming before than if you haven't. So I'm gonna return, I guess this filter is probably gonna take a function that returns true if it matches the predicate. So I wanna say, I'll just say session dot ID is equal to session ID. Now there's a little bit of a trouble here, which is that this ID is like this array. We dealt with this last time. I think we need to stringify our array here. So I'm gonna stringify it using join. This worked for me fine. And it may or may not work in general, but we'll sort of find out.
Databanks.
If the code base is daunting, it might be massive, it might be daunting for a beginner. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Thanks for the follow, CEO. I think there's a bunch of, like, I'm sure there's just like tons of sample React apps out there, right? Like I know there was that like to-do MVC thing that exists for a while. Does that have front end? No, it probably doesn't have front end. That's probably just a back end thing. But I'm sure there's stuff out there that's like, here's a standard thing that's implemented in several different frameworks, and download it, modify it, play with it. You switch from back end, that's awesome. That's super, super cool. So we'll get rid of this thing we were messing with. And okay, so what would happen if this filter returned me more than one thing though? Like I sort of think that this is gonna give me a list, and the output of this thing should really be a single item. So I kind of want to like zero it, but truthfully, I also have to check if there's anything in it at all, because if it doesn't match, we have to do something too, right? So we're gonna say matched sessions is equal to this. What do I use for backend API calls? What do you mean by that? I guess I'm using this redux thing, which I think manages a lot of that for me. So to be honest, I don't know what you mean by that. There's a JS array method called find that does this. So it gives me back null if it doesn't match or something. So you're saying if I say find, it gives me back. How do I see like what the, it's either S or undefined. Oh, that's cool. Returns the value of the first element in the array where predicate is true and undefined otherwise. Baller. Thanks for that tip. That is a lot better. So I guess I can just return this then. Oh, what backend language? Well, this database is written in Go, and I've been using Go for several years, and I like it quite a lot. Is that join safe? What did the session IDs look like? So the session IDs are just, they're like uint8 arrays. And we control them. So I guess I don't know quite what you mean by safe, but I think it should be fine. It's just like an array of numbers. And I guess if it's really long, it could get screwed up, but I think this should be okay. I think this should be okay. 10, 10 versus 101, 0. Oh, that's a good point, I think, except they're just uint8, so they're single bytes. I don't know. Yeah, that's a very fair point, honestly. It's a very fair point. Like, what would the 0 byte be represented as versus like, yeah, I don't know. We'll come back to this. We'll definitely come back to this. That's a really good point. Thanks for pointing that out, Stray Basilisk. Welcome to all the new viewers, by the way. We're just messing around with React. We're learning it. We're having fun. You can hit ! project if you're curious to learn a little bit more about what we're working on. And okay, so I think the next step that I want to do is try to make the link from the other page so that we can actually just like test any of this stuff out. Because right now, I think it's just going to be fully difficult to test without a link. So let's go back to our other page. And I think what I want to do is in our, right, we started out by doing this and I don't know why I didn't finish. When we render our sessions, I think what I want to do in our columns is to print out here, instead of just printing out the kind of date of the thing. Yo, it's JPhils, what's up? Yeah, we're doing JavaScript. Do you know if Go has a VM or if it generates machine code? It compiles down to, you know, your regular old binary architecture stuff. It makes a real binary. We're playing around in JavaScript. We're learning. We're doing TypeScript. We're doing React. You know, but we're kind of copying from stuff that already exists and not really like inventing ourselves. But that's how everybody starts, right? So it's okay. Okay, so if I wanted to make a link, how would I do that? I'm gonna copy what was in that other table, right? Just figure that out. Just because we don't know what we're doing, right? So we're gonna go to statements page. There's like a convention, you know? I feel like I could hack something, but what about just copying the convention? Why not? Why can't we do that? Make statements columns. I think statement link. It's a component. Whoa, that's actually super cool. So in order to make this link, they actually made a whole component for it. Does that make sense? Is that like mega overkill? Or is it correct? I don't know, man. You have to use link instead of a as part of the router lib. Oh, that's very interesting. So what we're programming right now is actually TypeScript with React and Redux. It's not Go at all. The database backend is Go, and we're not really playing with Go right now in this stream. It's correct. Okay, so we'll make a component. That's so cool. That's very, very cool. So what goes into this complicated component? We define the props inline, so it's really nice and simple, which I like. We make a summary, and then we make this little fragment. It's very modular. It's really modular. I like how modular it is. It's not overhead. No, I don't think it's overhead. I think it's just cognitively. For me right now, it's feeling like cognitive overhead because I'm new to all this stuff. But it makes a lot of sense that you would want to structure things in a really clean and clear way. So let's actually undo this change real quick. We'll go back to and I guess we could define it in the very table page, right? This sessions table TSX file. I guess this would be an appropriate place to put our new component. So we're gonna call it a session link. And what properties does it need to have, right? So I guess its property is just everything that we could possibly need to render this thing. So I think right now we'll need our, we could just pass in the whole session, right? Is there anything wrong with that conceptually? I feel like probably not. So we're gonna pass in a session as an I session. And I guess base, that's props.app. Oh, app. App is not a React thing. That's just like some other. So what this is saying in the other context is saying, if I've got an app and the app is greater than so it's like, give me a different link depending on what, I don't need it to be this complicated. All I need is to statically encode this thing, I think. So think of it as building up abstractions. You don't want to think about the implementations of A versus like, yeah, totally. Nicer and less coupled to pass the whole session. Yeah, I agree. So I think here we'll want to put our, it's kind of like our props dot session dot. This is this whole encoding business, right? We probably need to do better here. This is almost certainly going to be broken, like was pointed out, but that's okay. Okay, so then we return our link. We pass in base, which is what we just defined, obviously. Oh, in code URI component. Oh, I see. So this base is actually probably just going to be session in this case. In code URI component, I guess that escapes various things, so you can pass in stuff that has spaces in it, which I guess is not necessary in this case, but that's fine. But we'll do the same thing again. So we'll do id.join. We need to figure out a better way of doing this this magic, but we'll get there. Okay, so then there's a tooltip. What is the tooltip? Ah, this is where I wish that I could. Oh, I do actually have the raw thing, right? Because I can go to the back, the thing that isn't proxied through the new UI. And so what this tooltip displays, it just shows the name of the statement. Is that useful? I want to say that that's not useful in my case. So I'm just not gonna bother. No tooltip for you. Wait, what? Oh. So the tooltip has, as its attributes, its title and the thing inside? Where's just like the... Is this like the text that the hover area? Link description? Which is this is the basic part. Whatever, I'll just ignore all that and I'll just put the thing that I wanted to put the first place, which happens to be the date, right? So it's like whatever we had up here, which was timestamp to moment dot format date format. So I'm just gonna grab this and basically put this in a thingy. Props.session.start. All right. So I got my session link and I don't need to export it. So then up here, instead of this whole jazz, I'll say session link of session. Or do I need to pass this as an object? Probably I need to pass this as an object. Session. Does it work? It does not work. Why does this? Session info has no, oh, right. I guess it has to be like this, and then I probably have to specify the name of it as well. So it's kind of neat. I guess the shortcut for defining these objects is that if you have a variable name that's the same name as the key in your object, you can just put it inside of curly brackets and it's gonna get you like X maps to X, basically. It's kind of cool, but you can't do that if it gets more complicated. TIL, yeah, I just learned this by seeing what else was done in the code. I might actually be wrong. That might actually not really be what it does, but it's just the pattern that I'm observing. But we'll see. We shall see about that. Okay, cool. So we've got our session link. It would really be nice if I could... What is all this crap? Go away. It would really be nice if I could test this now without having to... make all this stuff compile. But I'm not sure if it's going to be possible. Maybe it will. What happens if I go up here and look at stuff? Does anything happen that's good? Probably not, right? Not really. Okay, that's fine. That is fine. Nothing in here is compiling whatsoever, of course, because we haven't done it yet. All right, so I think now we have the link. And we've got our redux selector thing. Is this a redux thing or is this just a... No, this is something called reselect. I guess I have no idea what that does or anything, but that's okay. And the next question is, right, once we have this selector, what do we do with it? I can't remember that part. Let's see what the details page over here does. What do we do with this selector thing? We have this function called map state to props. Oh yeah, we use this. This must be what React Router. This must be how React Router does stuff. Connect. Connect is... What's so funny about this is I really have no idea which of all of these concepts, like which concept is associated with which library, essentially. Reselect is a library that makes memoizing selectors for Redux. Wow, okay. That is good. And I guess... Well... Okay, there's some definite magic happening here that I don't understand. Maybe you can explain. So over here, in my actual router definition, I have something called statement details. But when I hit go to definition on statement details, it jumps me to something called statements details connected. But I don't see any mapping from statement details connected to something that's called statement details. So what is this connected business? I don't get that. It sort of seems like maybe the jump to definition thing is wrong, because we got a class here that's called statement details. I think that's probably just like the IDE freaking out. Map state with router and connector higher order components that are how you hook into the router and hook into your Redux store. Map state to props feeds data to your component as props. That makes sense. Export default lets you name the import however you want. Huh. Okay. Export default. Interesting. Okay. Fascinating. Facituting. Right. Right. Info dump. Yes, I do feel info dumped, but that's okay. So like, here's my next question. In my sessions page, which is the simplest one that I've done because I did it myself, what do we have here? We have a map states to props that takes a state and props and gives you back my, right, this is the page's props. That's the thing. And then this refresh sessions business, I don't quite get this still. It's kind of like, this is just maybe a list of all the things that you need to be refreshing all the time or something like that. So I guess what we really need is just something that's basically exactly the same as this. In fact, I think it is exactly the same. So I'm just gonna probably copy all of this. I guess I could say, I think I just want to copy all of this. So it's going to be called session page connected. Or I guess I should call it session details page. Session details page connected. Which this also kind of implies to me.
Databanks.
Hey, Azumaki, thanks for that follow. What does the import statement pulling in statement details look like? It just says import statement details from. That's what got me kind of confused. You know, it doesn't seem to link together statement details with statement details connected. I don't quite... That's the part that's a bit perplexing to me still. Oh, so you get one default per page or something like that? That would be kind of interesting. It's like the default thing that you get from a particular file. Right. Ah, interesting. Very interesting. What's up, Incognito Jam? When you import a bear identifier like that, it's using the renameable default. Okay, very interesting. That's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Session details page connected. Okay, so this kind of implies that we need to make our props thing next, right? So before we called it own props, I think. Own props, which seems to be a convention. And I think it's really, we have exactly the same own props in this component as we did in the other component. So I think I'll just copy that. I'm not sure if that's an anti-pattern. Like, it sort of seems like this is code duplication in a sense, but at the same time, like, it might be the case that I would want to evolve the properties of this page separately from the properties of the other page. So maybe it's fine to keep it. Oh, you know, it's not going to be the same, right? Because the whole point is that we just have a single session info. So I guess I take it back. My own props is going to be a single session info. It will still have an error, and I think it still needs refresh sessions. Right. So then in my selector, right? Yes. So in my selector, I say session is equal to select session of stated props. I keep this last error business, and then I think I'm in business. I have a single session in my component's properties that I can now play with. So that was pretty straightforward. Fantastic. Next up, I guess I need to make my actual class here. Component. And it's gonna, my props is gonna be own props. And what did I have in my state for the other page? That's what I don't quite remember yet. It's got my sort setting and my pagination. Do I have anything at all in the state for this thing that I'm trying to build? I feel like the answer is not really. Oh, you know, I'm probably gonna have tabs and stuff, but I don't need this yet, right? It's like, by default, it's just gonna be a single page. It doesn't have any state, so I don't know. I wonder how I ask for just no state. Like, how would I, can I just go like this? Yeah, I guess I can. So no state. Where's the vampire slave guy? I have no idea what happened to that guy. Okay. So I got my own props with my constructor here. I super to add the constructor of the React component. I don't have any search params yet, right? Don't need this stuff. I think maybe I'll have tabs eventually, but for now I don't need any of this stuff. So I'm just gonna get rid of it altogether. That probably means I don't need any props, any constructor, I mean, right? Or do I, wait a minute. Yeah, I feel like I don't, because I can get this dot props even without a custom constructor or anything like that. I'm not doing anything like this dot props equals props, which kind of implies that maybe the higher level component is doing that for me. That'd be my guess. So I think I can just get rid of this altogether. I don't need any sort setting. I don't, ooh, I do need component did mount, stuff like that. It seems to me like, I don't quite know why it makes you do this every time, but I do need to do this, I think, so I will. Constructor's optional, makes sense. Previous page, do I need this? I don't know. Seems fancy, it all seems rather fancy. On tab change, I don't have a tab now. Here's my render. And I have, there's this pattern that seems to be you have a separate render and render content. I don't quite know what that would be for, but. So I don't have an app or anything like that. I can get rid of that altogether. And here, I do want to say, I guess this is kind of the title of the page, and I guess I probably want to say like, so what does this look like in reality? When I click on one of these guys, where is this showing up? Details, blah, app, state, where is this stuff? Oh, it's the actual tab title, I see. That's kind of interesting. Oh, and it goes in reverse order. That's interesting. So I guess if I said, is that what it's saying? I don't know what it's saying. Refresh sessions is the project conventions. Okay. Render versus rendered content, also a project convention. Interesting. Cool. Good to know. Good to know. So I think what I'll say here is, I guess I would want to add the session ID here, right? So I could do, you know what I kind of want to do? I mean, I should really inject the session ID into the props because I'm using it over and over again. But for now, I'll just say, or this dot props dot session dot session dot. This is gross, you know. This is definitely the sort of thing that I should add onto some object somewhere. Yeah, definite MVP. This is probably making your eyes bleed, and for that I apologize. Right, so then there's this CX business. This also seems to be a convention that we use all over the place, and I think this is how we get our styles. I wish I knew what CX stood for, because right now I have absolutely no clue. But we do use it in like every single file, so it's got to be something. Got to be something good. Do I want to put another thing here? Sessions? I don't know what this is about. These titles seem a little bit half-baked to me, to be honest, but maybe that's normal. Okay, so my page header. What is this? Oh, I've got a little, ooh, that's what I'm defining here. So I've got a back button and it says take me back to the original page. So I'll want to put, ooh, I guess I do need this prev page thing. That's kind of interesting. So how do I get me that prev page thing back? Session details. Session statements details? Details? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that this stuff, honestly, part of the problem that I'm having at my job right now is that a lot of the front end resources, people who are good at front end, they work on the team that works on our cloud product. So the you know, Cockroach Cloud, where you can get a hosted instance of CockroachDB, and there's a lot of front end work to be done there. And so they're all kind of working on that. And this site it's not unmaintained. That's a total lie. And there's people working on it, but there aren't as many people available to work on this. Like every database has this site thing. So I'm kind of half thinking about what it would look like if I could add some more front end resources to my team. And so before I wanted to do that, I kind of wanted to take a look myself and see if I could figure out a little bit about it without, I don't know. It just feels wrong to ask for something when you don't quite know how it works in the first place. Ish. I don't know. It's also just kind of fun. So, all right, the reason that I brought that up, though, is just that actually that, like, since there aren't that many people working on it right now, I think that there's just been several groups of people who have worked on this thing over the years. So I do think that there's possibly some fragmentation in the conventions of this code, I think. But I don't really know, and I don't know at all, to be honest. Right, so I wanted to look at this prev page thing. So in my statement details page, I've got this prev page guy. And it's just saying, oh, it's just a little anonymous function that says go back in the history. Okay, sure. Sort of seems like maybe I could just define this in line. This dot props dot history. History, I don't have history in my props. Is that right? It sort of seems like history is defined in every props. How come? Oh, it is. I'm a dummy. Property history does not exist on type read only. Okay, no idea what that might mean. Did I get this right? Prev page. Is it because I'm inside of the context of this function or something like that? Like, what happens if I use the same? Does that fix it all of a sudden?
The computer's hooked into over 1,000 databanks throughout the world.
Hey, Ivko, thanks for that. Thanks for that follow. Do I need to import it? It doesn't look like it. I don't get this. Do I need to maybe make my props inherit something? Perhaps that's the issue. So my props over here are own props. Oh, right. I think I forgot to do this thing. I didn't add in my route component props or whatever. So I think I need to do this kind of little dance over here. So when I go to own props, you know, it would be kind of nice. What if I just did, is this gross? Is this like an anti-pattern to just put it right into the component definition there? I'm not sure. I'm gonna try it. All right. So I've got my on-click. It is an anti-pattern. Okay. Or I'm not sure what you were saying. I'll just say session detail. It probably is, right? Because I should, everything seems to have like, you got your blah class that's a component, then you got your blah props class. So I'll say, is this a type? Yeah. Type session detail props equals own props and route component props. And interestingly, people seem to export these, which I don't know why they would do that yet, but I suppose I'll find out. All right, so what's the matter with you? Oh, probably I don't want to call it. I just want to use this as a function. All right. Okay, we did it. So we got this whole situation going on. I got this. Okay, cool. Sessions error. This should be called session error, TBH. And we never set this, do we? I think we do kind of, I think it's like this. That's what we want to do. Okay. Okay, so we have our render. And now we have our render content for some reason. Okay, so I guess the reason for this render and render content split is that we have a loading container in case we haven't finished running the API call that gets the information about the sessions. So I guess this loading component probably does a bunch of stuff. Loading will display a background image instead of the content if the loading prop is true. Hey, what's up, Valdene? How's it going? All right. Let's dive into the actual page. I think at first, you know what I probably want to do is just get anything to print so that we can see if anything is working at all. That would be the good first step, right? So what I'll do, it seems like you can return this fragment thing. So I'm going to say return react.fragment. Fragment. Oh gosh. And I'm just going to put something that says, put a section, class name. Guess that's my styles. The whole style thing is like a whole nother level that I haven't quite grokked yet in terms of like what the best way to structure it is. Because it seems like you have to hold so much state in your head, you know? So I'm just gonna print out like session dot, I don't know. I'll just do this whole ID thing again. And we'll just get rid of the rest of this stuff. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. All this crap, not necessary. All right, so does this now compile is my next question. There's a lot of extra imports, which we can just delete. I wish that the IDE would do this for you. I don't know why it doesn't. It's really quite annoying. I don't think we need any of this stuff, right? Yeah, I wish that it, does anybody know a way to get these imports to kind of work just automatically? This is just ridiculous. And this is session details page. Session details, did I call it? Okay, so what's the issue? Presumably the props don't match. That's usually the issue that I've found so far. Oh, I think I know what the issue is. The issue is that I'm, instead of returning, I think I need to make this like this or something. Yeah. Heyo! Absolutely awesome. For some reason, this is grayed out. Unused default export. Oh, it's because we didn't define it in our routes. Oh, this is fun. So we can now import this thing. How come? Is it just called session details? I should probably call it session details. Well, the component seems to be also called statement details, so maybe it's fine. Okay, add our import. And let us see if this whole thing works now, huh? You can set up your editor with Prettier and ESLint dash dash fix, and it'll do things like delete. Ooh, I need to do that for sure. Okay, so check it out. We got our link, and the link seems to point to session with like a long URL. And let's see what happens when we click it. Okay, so the click worked, and then this page does not work though. The page is saying, cannot read property session of undefined inside of a render. Guess that makes sense. Why would that have worked the first time? So I guess the issue is probably that. I'm just blindly looking inside of session here. And that's no bueno. That makes sense, because in this loading thing, this is where we really detect whether or not we even have a session. So what does the statements page do for that, right? Oh, you know, we don't need to do this. The whole point, the entire point, was that we already have the session ID provided to us by the parameter. Did we save the parameter yet? Where do we save that parameter? It's like down here. You know what we should do is add session ID to our props. The session twice thing is because I have an object that wraps something else that's called session. I don't know, maybe it's also an anti-pattern, I don't quite know. It's like one is this outer object and the inner one is a protobuf. I think what I want to do is add a session ID here. So I'll say ID, session ID, and then up here I think I can say this.props.id. How come that doesn't work? Oh, it's because I didn't add it to my props? Question mark? Does this thing give me back a props, or does it give me back like some inner thing? I think it gives me back my props, maybe. I don't know. ID string. What happens? That works. All right, solid. So let's go back over here now. This.props.refresh sessions is not a function. I think that makes sense because I probably didn't like define it anywhere, did I? Type of refresh sessions. Something that I'm doing is not quite exact. What I just did was a little iffy. By iffy, like I basically need to find a way to like thread my URL parameter. I guess I already have it. I already have it. I don't need to add another thing again. I can just literally use this same thing. Is that what you're saying, perhaps? Let's just try it out. So I could theoretically say this exact thing, and then I don't have to like redefine it. Like this is a way, essentially. I don't know. Right. That makes sense. So, okay. So what is the deal though with this? Refresh sessions is not a function. Refresh sessions is not a function. Why would it be the case? It's probably just nil. Did I have to do anything fancy to do this, to make this work on the other page? Refresh sessions. Sessions is such a tongue twister word. It doesn't look like I did anything to make that work. All I did was I added it to this map dispatch to props thing. So mystery, we're back to mystery. Session details. Refresh sessions comes from API reducers, which I think is the same place that I got it from. The other, I didn't get this. What is this for? Cached data reducer state. I didn't. Something's a little funky. How come? Does this get re-exported? That's odd. Let me. I doubt this is the problem, but just out of an abundance of caution, we're gonna use this import instead and see what happens. What if we redefined cache data reducer state? I don't know why we would have done that, but I guess it's possible. Let's try this again. No, it's the same issue. How do I tell what it is? Can I figure that out? Or we're not in a debugger, so we can't really tell yet. That's okay. Refresh sessions. So I've made my props. Did I pass it in properly? I did. I guess I could print out all my props. Let's do that. I suppose we could also do a breakpoint. That would be cooler. Let's do a breakpoint. So we're gonna put a breakpoint here and run again. Does that work? We do have a breakpoint. React and Redux Chrome extensions, that's a good idea. I've heard of that. So I've got my call stack and I've got my local scope. Amazing. This is this, props is this. It's got a history, a location, and a match, but it doesn't have anything else. Oh, did I use the wrong? Wait a minute, what? It kind of seems like it doesn't have any of my custom props in a sense, right? It's got, sorry, this is probably blocked by my face, isn't it? And also way too tiny. It's got history, location, match. None of these things it has at all. What happens? Is it, I wonder if it has to do with that constructor thing that we were messing with. Could that be it? Way too tiny. Yeah, I don't know how to make this text bigger, unfortunately. Do you? Oh, I guess you just plus, oh my God. How's it going, Denny? Welcome to the stream. Oh God, this is out of control, unfortunately. So React, Redux, Chrome extensions. I'll get those. It seems like a good idea. All right, so now you're, perhaps if I like refresh this thing, I'm gonna get a bunch more information in my log or something. Oh my Lord. Okay, this is like too big. I can't deal. I can't deal. Sorry. What happened to my, oh, there's tabs. Oh, wow. Holy crap. There's like new kinds of things. I don't know how any of this works. You got a window, you got an inspector, all sorts of stuff. You got components. Yo, Cypher, what's up? Your kind of stream, yeah. I think this is gonna be a popular thing. What's funny about it is that I don't know what I'm doing, but I think a lot of people are into doing this kind of programming. So it might be a good thing to stream. Trouble is, okay, I don't know if this thing is not working because my page isn't loading. That could be it. I still need to figure out what the deal is with this not a function thing. I bet it's something super, super goofy. You're a Python fanboy? You're messing with Node and TypeScript, feels fast, you're converted. Oh, that's so funny, but they're so different. I like Python a lot. I think Python's a great language. Not a fan of Redux. Be doing stuff with work with it. Components inspector will work a lot better when you got something rendering. Yeah, that makes sense. Default state working as a software developer, do not know. Yeah, I agree with that. So you guys, how come there's no stuff in my props? That is the question. Oh, you know what it must be? So I have this props and I've defined a type for it, which is my own props thing. But presumably the thing that I'm actually passing in to my component is not actually including this information. And that's the issue. That's got to be what it is. So let's go back to where we actually create our props. Is this the thing that's creating our props? If I go to the thing that works, which is down here, is this object that I'm returning props, or is that something else? I don't think this is my props. This is something else. This is the thing that gets me. Oh, this is my props. Oh, I see. So I guess what it is that I haven't. No, man, this does make sense. No. I don't know. I don't get it. I basically still don't get it. This is the thing that's supposed to define props. And I think what's happening here is that I'm supposed to be each of the things that I put into these objects here, into this connect guy, they're supposed to be returned to me as part of my props. So I'm supposed to get session, I'm supposed to get session error, and I'm supposed to get refresh sessions. And all of these things have corresponding entries in my own props. So still the question is, how come this doesn't happen? I don't know. I don't think I can make a breakpoint in any of these things really, because this is like so higher order. I suppose I could I could turn this into a function. Maybe I could just break on this, honestly. Like I can use this as syntax, right? Or no, not really. I think it would have to be like this, maybe. Is this syntax that works? It is certainly not. There we go. Okay, so I think I could make a breakpoint on this thing. How am I importing this page component? Wait, I'm still not importing session details page connected. So the way that it's working is over here, I've got a route that, oh, is that the issue? Is it this whole thing with the special import? Could it be that? It says import session details from. I mean, this seems legit though. This seems legit, right? The only difference between this import and the other one is that it. Wait, the braces was important? Holy moly. How could that be a thing? It must be because of this default business. The exact name. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, I guess. Let's just undo this change then. Return to the nice anonymous function. JavaScript, baby. All right, so let's get rid of our debugger things here. All right, okay, we have a rendering page. That's awesome. The page doesn't do anything useful yet, but I think this is major progress. Major progress. Congratulations, everybody. We did it. Crystal Gamer says, debugging JS is the dream. I don't know about that. All right, so let's like make a table or something. Let's like make a table. This is like pretty good though. Check it out. You know, you can go back and forth. This is broken though. Statement details, I need to fix those things. Let's fix that real quick. So in my render, I guess I've said statements in some spots, right? Except I don't actually see that. So what is this about, huh? How come this says statements instead of sessions? And how come it says statement details? Oh, it's right here, right in front of my face. Sessions. Okay. Check out the project component inspector. Okay. Components. Whoa. Oh my goodness gracious. This is out of control. We have an app, we have a provider, we have a context provider, we have connect functions, we have connected routers with contexts, we have context consumers. Dude, this is nuts. We got require login, we got some helmets. Oh, but you know what's really cool is when you mouse over each of these components, it'll actually highlight the things that are being displayed, I think. Is that right? Yeah, it totally does. Oh, that's so cool. So if I can mouse over sidebar and I get the sidebar. There's just a lot of deep nesting here for some reason, but that's okay. I mean, you need that. Here's my sessions page. Oh, I can search too. Let's do that. That'll be better. So if I search sessions, oh, I would really like it to collapse all of these parents. That would be better. This is very neat. Use the arrow selector. Props and stuff on the right. Oh, I see. That is so cool. It tells you what it's rendered by. That is actually super dope. Wow. I'm sure this is going to come in a lot of handy. Very neat. Very, very neat. All right. So back here, we now have our backlink doing the right thing. Oh, the arrow button next to the search input. Let's try that one more time then. So the components and profiler tabs are coming from this component that this plugin that I just installed called React Developer Tools. Well, I also installed something called Redux Dev Tools, and I'm not sure which is which. I'm guessing that we were looking at this one though, React Developer Tools. Yo, Brahanser, what's up? Welcome, welcome. The rendered by info. Yeah, maybe it's just an updated version of the plugin. I don't know. Right, so if I go back to components, then there was the arrow button next to the search input. Oh, this guy? Whoa! Oh, that is so cool. That is so cool. Might be a browser rootkit 4-star rated. Oh man, I just got owned on stream. It's totally possible. Hope not though. Okay, so let's print out something on this page instead of just this ugly ID. Why don't we do something useful? So I guess what I'll start with, what do we have on the statements page? On the statements page, what we have would be, I bet I have some tables in here already, right? No, I don't. Create table, a int, insert into a values 3. Okay, so back on my page, presumably now I will get some stuff here. And when I click into something, what does it give me? It gives me like some like dark background text. I suppose we could reuse this component. That could be kind of sick, right? Like, why not? This seems like something that's very reusable. So we'll put that there. Why not? Let's start with that. Let's start with that. Except here's the only thing is that we don't necessarily have a current statement. I forgot about that. So honestly, it's quite different. So here's the thing, right? In this sessions view, this is like a real-time view of stuff. So when I click a particular session, what I want to be able to see is what? Like what are the important things? I want to know, I guess we could just start with like cloning this table basically. Well, it's not a table anymore, right? Because there's only one row to it. The way they do things here is it's kind of like a vertically laid out thing. You have like a summary section, a bunch of stats. Should we do that? I like the way this looks. I'm gonna try to model it off of this component here for now, I guess. All right, so if I go into statement details, what do I have? I've got a bunch of rows. Oh, this is a numeric stat table. We don't really care about that, do we? I just want to see kind of like the top level. Oh, you know where this would actually probably come in handy if I use that inspector. That'll help me figure out what is providing each thing. So let's try that out. Why don't we? If I mouse over this, It tells me that it's rendered by statement details loading. Okay, so that's just saying it's rendered by the main component. No subcomponents here. It's still useful to know that information. I like this plugin quite a lot. Man, it's quite cool. It's quite cool, quite cool, quite cool. So in my render content, this is probably where it lives, right? It's saying if I don't have stats, then render something. Unable to find statement. There are no execution statistics for the statement. That seems like a good thing to add. What is that emote? You what? Andy Samberg? Yeah, I get that a lot. You guys, there's something that all of those three people have in common, which is that they're Jewish. I think I look like a Jewish guy because I'm Jewish. So that might be why. I don't know. One time, let me tell you a story. One time, in the pre-COVID times, I went out to eat at a restaurant called Han Dynasty, a delicious restaurant that serves Szechuan food. Very crowded at first. It was a big deal, a lot of good reviews in the newspaper and stuff like that, so it was crowded. I waited online for several hours. And at the bar, who do I see? Who do I see sitting at the bar but Seth Meyers, the man himself. I think I look more like Seth Meyers than Andy Samberg. But anyway, so I see Seth Meyers at the counter. I'm like, holy shit, it's Seth Meyers. And eventually I get to the front of the queue and they're like, okay, you're gonna be next to be seated. And who gets up? Seth Meyers and his friend from the bar. And they seat me. Where do they seat me? They sit me at the very same seat that Seth Meyers was sitting at. And I'm like, does the bartender, like, are they gonna be confused? Can they tell me apart from Seth Meyers? They probably could. But anyway, it was a nice story. I didn't say hi to Seth, but yeah, whatever. The end. Goodbye. Han Dynasty. It's a great place. You guys should check it out if you're ever in New York. I should have put my food on his tab. Yeah, that would have been sick. That would have been super sick. All right. Story time. Story time. So I think we should start with one of these things too, right? Like, for example, if I had navigated by hand to a statements page that didn't match anything, like blah, database, it's going to give me unable to find statement. There are no execution statistics for the statement. Back to statements. I like that. I should probably do that. Hey, Ferry Santos, thanks for the follow. Hey, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. You know what's kind of interesting is that, yeah, the SQL box. The SQL box. That is a cool sounding component. It doesn't do very much. It seems like there's something called a ref, which I don't know what that's about, but it runs highlight. And presumably this is something that does syntax highlighting, maybe? No, this is something we wrote. UI, source views, shared component SQL. Okay, so it does quite a lot. Oh, wow. It has actually some specific information on different SQL stuff. That's actually kind of neat. TRF we ML now. Yeah. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so let's make one of those. Let's make one of those. Let's make one of those. So what we say is in our page, we're going to say, yeah, here's what I don't get. Didn't we just return null? So over back in the statement details page, is that the same thing that we're checking? Like, how do we know when to return this empty fragment, right? How do we know? Render content, right? Yeah, what's up with that? If there's no statement, return null, but then we also do this thing if not stats. So I guess it's... I guess in my case, what it would be is like... I mean, I feel like... I guess it's if session is null, right? Right, because... I guess when I'm doing this whole hookup thing where I'm saying... Yeah, because select session can return null. That's the thing, right? Select session is this selector thing. Ultimately, what happens is that this thing... Oh yeah, we also wanted to get rid of this crap, which was unnecessary. But no, we didn't. We wanted to get rid of just that. Ultimately, this session, I think, might be null. And if this session is null, then... Oh, I guess it's just like session.session. I don't know. I don't like that stuttering, but I'm not quite sure how to fix it. But I think I guess I would want to do like if session dot... Wait, what? I don't get it. I don't get it, but I think it's actually fine. I'm just like a little bit confused about the level of nesting thing. But I think all I have to do is just say if not session, then I get to return this guy that says like no such session, basically. And how do I make something that looks nice exactly? What do they do here? They say they make a little section, which is cool. And then inside of a section, they put some text. So it's really just as simple as that. That's not so bad. So we'll do that. Unable to find session. There is no currently active session with the ID. And then I should probably put the ID. So that would be... How do I get that again? It's this thing. Get match param by name. Return just the result of find from the create selector. But I think that there was an issue with that. Oh, maybe not. Maybe you're right. I mean, something goes wrong with that. If I do that, people are sort of sad. Oh, the reason is that this session, the type of this thing in my props is defined as session info. And session info is defined as an object that contains a value called session iSession. So it's possible that I should just ditch this whole extra interface and have everybody just consume an iSession directly. But I was thinking that I might want to augment the session info with stuff that isn't just contained in the proto, you know? And if I wanted to do that, then I felt like it felt wrong to just pass the proto around, because it wouldn't be as extensible in case I wanted to add some props and stuff like that. I suppose what I could really do is like embed the fields of iSession into session info. That would be ideal, but I'm not sure if you can really do that, you know? Like in Go, you could say this, but I don't think that that's a thing in JavaScript. You know what you could, oh, you know what maybe it is? Maybe what it is this whole and business. So if I said like, what if I said export type session info is equal to iSession? Can I do that? I don't think I can do this, but you see what I'm saying? Like, and then eventually I could say, if I wanted to have another extra bunch of stuff, I could sort of say like, you know, interface, extra session stuff, example, int, and then could I say like, what is the deal with this? Do I have to say number? Then I say like iSession and extra session stuff. I feel like this is what I want. Do you see what I'm trying to do here? Where is the other example of where we do that? Export type is equal to. How come it doesn't work in this context? Duplicate identifier. I think this will work. Actually work. I'll just do this. We'll see what it does. Get rid of extra session stuff right now because I don't have anything in there. And then over here, I think I can fix all of these things to have pipe that stuff. Unfortunately, I have no clue. Oh, you're saying you could or it instead of anding it? Well, I don't know why you would want to do that. Yeah, it's probably just like, it's like an intersection versus a something else. This is much more elegant, but I'm not sure if it's going to come back and bite me. But whatever, we'll go for it. Okay, and then here, they need to be values, not types or interfaces. We'll see. We'll see about that. So over here, I'll say if not this dot props dot session. This might like just completely break everything. We'll just have to see. This thing is looking rather unhappy. I don't quite know why. Oh, it's because I don't have a return. There we go. All right. So list URL. What is list URL from? List URL. I don't know why that's defined separately in this example exactly. But really, it's just, we don't need this because we don't have any extra special stuff. It's just going to be sessions. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Oh, I guess it would be like this, huh? Have like a duplicate thing. Ozzy the dev, what's up? You're planning to write an ORM for a RangoDB. Whew. ORM design, that's a hard thing. I think what your approach should be is probably trying to understand how the existing Golang ORMs work, to understand like what people expect and trying to make something that's similar to that. I think if you don't do that, you might find yourself inventing a kind of paradigm that people don't understand. So that'd be my advice. Try to look at ORMs that people already use in Golang, see what happens. All right, so if we don't have a session, I don't know if you should do that, but it's an interesting idea. Hey, CM Griffin G is raiding with a party of 20. What's up? Thank you so much for that raid, man. I really appreciate that. And welcome everybody. I'm Jordan. We are working on adding a
Databanks.
session details page to the web UI of this database CockroachDB that I work on. The idea is that you want to be able to see
The computer's hooked into over 1,000 databanks throughout the world.
when the database is running, what are the sessions in the database. Currently it doesn't work, so I can't show it off. There's some broken stuff, but the database already has some information about like historical statements and stuff like that it's running, like that it ran, I should say. So for example, I've been playing around in this database. I ran some statements on it. One of them was PG sleep. One of them was this select. And I can click on any of these things and get details about the statistics, how long things took when I ran that statement, and stuff like that. So we're kind of adding an analog to the real-time component. So like, what is the database doing right now? What are each of the sessions doing right now? How did your stream go, by the way, CM Griffin? What were you working on today? And some statistics. So I kind of want to add something like this for the real-time stuff, and that's what we're working on. We're learning React, kind of. We're learning React and TypeScript and everything by example, and it's going okay. There's a lot of really smart people in the chat who are helping me a lot, so I appreciate all of you who are doing that. But that's kind of what we're up to. Thanks for all the follows, you guys. I really appreciate that. You're working on a chat overlay as a service. That's cool. Like for Twitch stuff? I feel like that's a common thing that people want and don't know how to have. They use the stream element stuff, but it's kind of hard to configure maybe. That's awesome. That's really cool. Maybe I should use it. Because I don't have a chat overlay. I don't have a chat overlay. That's one of the things that my stream is missing. Hey, Go Haku, thanks for that follow. It allows arbitrary text and emote replacement. Right. Yeah, that is one of the big challenges, right? Like, you want to have something
Computers hooked
that
into over 1,000 databanks throughout the world.
gives you what the Twitch chat actually looks like and not just a stream of text. That sort of seems like the biggest issue. If you're not careful, you'll just get a bunch of text and like not replace emotes and stuff like that. And that would be ugly for your video, I want to say. For branding. Yeah, I think what you really want, I mean, the other question that you have to answer, I feel like, is do you want to include those like FFZ emotes and stuff like that, or like the better Twitch TV stuff? And I've always wondered about those because I feel like several of those might not be like really kosher to show on stream. So maybe it's just you want to ignore them and just not ever include those things. But if people use them on your stream, it'll also be confusing in the recording. Oh, smile could be replaced with your face. That is actually super cool. I'm into that quite a bit. I already have this one face emote. I kind of want to add some more, but I could have a smile face that's like me actually smiling. That's a great idea, man. I really like that. That's actually really, really, really cool. Yeah, so the thing that's a little bit problematic with what I just did is that I think what I did is I've unnested the properties, the properties of this object in a way that's a little bit confusing. But then again, maybe it's actually going to work fine, and it just took a second to like de-red highlight itself. I'm not really sure. But let's just make this little top part work and then see if everything is back into tip-top shape. I guess the main thing is I just want to kind of alias session to be this dot props dot session. I guess I need to put a const here like this, and then I can say session over here, and then hopefully let's see if everything is going to render now, or it's going to be kind of upset. Okay, cool. So it's rendering at least a little bit, but if I go to the sessions page that we were working on, things are kind of crashing. Why is that? Cannot read in property join of undefined. I did just like restructure what all of the props look like. Yeah, this is what I was worried about, right? The issue is that this page that I've defined, it takes in sessions page props. And the thing that I've changed is the definition of this session info thing. Basically what I'm confused about is that I used to have a session info thing that wrapped a protobuf struct. I had something that looked like this: export type session info is equal to, or I guess it was an interface actually. It looked like this, session info, and it had this sort of duplicate stuttery thing, like so. And I didn't really like that. I was trying to see if I could get rid of it, and so what I did is I kind of de-nested each of the fields from this protobuf into the top level session info. But then I think that broke a bunch of definitions. Yo, Portuguese Captain, what's up? How's it going? It was really fun hanging out on your stream last night. Everybody, you should check out, if you want to watch some Sekiro, give this man a follow, Portuguese Captain. He's a very entertaining streamer. I had a lot of fun. I've never played that game, but I learned a lot while watching him. So if you like that, you should do that too. Truthfully though, like I don't actually understand what I'm doing with unnesting these fields. And it did kind of screw stuff up. Basically, like if you think about it, what is happening? For example, in this thing, make sessions columns. Well, I edited all of those. Basically what I had before is I had something that looked like this stutter, right? I had, my props were called session, or not my props, the kind of input to this anonymous function was called session. And then I had to go and ask for the name of the protobuf struct inside of this session, like this, session.session.start, to get it field out. And so I pulled these fields up out into the top level thing. And I just don't think that that's actually gonna work. Oh, wait a minute. You know, maybe it is gonna work and I just sort of didn't follow through in a sense, because what you have to do is when you can define the type of your props just fine, but if you don't actually give back the props in the format that you're expecting, nothing will really work. And I think that's what's happening here, right? Instead of mapping session to an object that contains session, I think all I would have to do is just return state.data.sessions. And maybe that's my problem. Maybe it's actually going to just get a lot simpler with this change. It's possible. It's possible. What happens if I refresh now? Oh, that totally fixed it. Okay, cool. So I'm not, that was not as bad as I was expecting. There was just a small mismatch. I find it a little bit confusing. You know, you define the types of these props in React, and there's a very essential step, which is that you have to link together the type of the props with the actual thing that gives you back the value of the props. And it doesn't seem to me like there was type checking for that necessarily, or the type checking was a little bit messed up. Because I think the type checker should have been able to detect that when I return that object that was sort of malformed, that didn't actually implement the props interface that I defined, I think the type checker should have complained. And it didn't. What's the deal? You guys tell me. But anyway, it's all good. So if I now click back to my session details, this is good. This is like my proto page that doesn't have any details on it, which is fine. And then the idea was that if I go to some session that doesn't exist, then hopefully this will say no such session. And instead it spins forever. So that's not quite right. But I think I know what's going wrong. Am I seeing TypeScript errors? I wasn't seeing TypeScript errors before. With that type checking thing that I was complaining about, I wasn't seeing any errors. I was just getting runtime errors, which it's totally possible that I was just doing something wrong. I don't know. Let me see if I can turn off Flux for a second. I think this is Flux kicking in. Okay. So let us now figure out what this spinny business is about. If I go back to my session details, then the way that I know whether things are loading or not is whether props.session is nil or not. Is that right? Does that make sense? You wonder if TypeScript is throwing errors, but it's going into the void?
Databanks.
I guess that's possible. Thanks for the follow-up, Anish. You don't know if the editor is rendering type errors. So I don't think that it was going into the void because when I went to the browser, like the little
Computers
refresher compiler thing did stuff because the browser changed and broke. So I was just assuming that something kind of happened and then something was output. But yeah, it could be that something in the compiler pipeline is not kind of operating the way I was expecting. Orbstein, thanks for that follow. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Maybe the type checking did work and I just didn't notice. So the current problem that I have though is that I can't distinguish whether something's loading versus whether it doesn't exist or not. That's a little bit problematic, actually. So I guess I think that should be enough for an incoming CS student. I don't think you need a really powerful computer to do stuff. I mean, I have no idea what that computer is about, but I think you'll be fine with nearly anything. What I don't really understand about this is yeah, how I can kind of, okay, so let's think about this. There's no difference. This is the issue, right? I think this signal right here, if I don't see anything in state.data, this is telling me that we haven't loaded yet, basically. But that's the same value that we return if we didn't find a session for the given session ID in our list. So there's kind of an indistinguishability problem that we have right here that I have to figure out what to deal with. I guess what we could do, we could just return an object here. I think, just as a hack in a sense. So for example, if I did this kind of thing. And then I can unwrap it later. Basically. Is that right? I don't actually know which would be better, you know? Map state to props. If I do this, no, this is not going to work, because then I'll have just the same issue, which is that this session thing will be... I kind of need to set another prop, like did load. But is that an anti-pattern to have a did load kind of thing? I don't know. I don't know. What I need is like an option type, right? Isn't that like the hot thing to do? Like I would have null if I didn't load. And then if I did load, I would either have something or nothing depending on whether I found it or not. I feel like that would be the more ideal thing. What do we do in this other page for this exactly? We say statements. How many software engineers do I manage? About, it changed recently because I got a manager under me, which has been really nice. But I think I have like 6 direct reports right now. There must be conventions around loading errors, etc. I think they're kind of, I mean, there's this like last error business. The thing I'm a little bit confused about is like, in the case of no error but no load, the way that it works right now seemingly is that we return null as the top level thing, and that means no load. Otherwise, sorry, this would be a better example. This is an example of a situation in which you can either load something or nothing, and you can find nothing. And in this case, what we do is we have a top level object that's null if nothing was loaded. And inside that object, what we get is, again, this double nesting business. Kind of like, I guess what I'm doing is I'm bucking tradition in a sense by like unnesting this proto thing. And maybe I should just undo that because it seems to be against the convention of everywhere else in the code. It's kind of sad. I don't like this session.session stuff, you know? Do I see CockroachDB becoming as popular as MongoDB? I certainly hope so. I think we have a long way to go, but that would be great. That would be awesome. I think it should become as popular as MongoDB. Do you guys remember FoundationDB, by the way? Check out this vintage shirt. This is like a database that doesn't really quite exist anymore.
Databanks.
I got it at a conference. I am White Knife. What's up? Thanks for that follow. I think Apple owns FoundationDB now. It like kind of still exists, but just not as like a company. I guess I should just re-stutter this stuff. It just makes me sad, you know? I guess I'll just re-stutter it. That's fine. That's fine. So just undo all this stuff that I did. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. We'll do it. We'll make it happen. I don't want to mess around. I don't want to make people confused. So I'm just going to undo all this stuff that I did. So my session info, sorry. I just have to redo a bunch of stuff. It's no problem though. It's not a big deal. It's just a little bit probably irritating to have to watch me undo what I just did.
Databanks.
Thanks for the follow, DJ, Almo, Cruz, Junior. Appreciate it. You're new to React, any tips? My tip is find an app that you have that already exists and try to add something to it. That's what I'm doing. And I don't know anything about React. I'm also new to React. So you're watching me struggle just as you would probably have to. You know what I should do here is instead of, you know, I can undo this stuttering and just destructure it up at the top. That would be nifty, right? So there's some things that I'm learning. I can say const session is equal to session, right? Doesn't this work? No, it doesn't like when I do that. Oh, right, because these are all anonymous functions. Wait a minute. So column descriptor of session info. Oh, it's kind of annoying. Because this, I really wish that I could just make everything take, whatever. I kind of wish that I could just make everything take this internal proto thing. It just feels wrong. It just feels so wrong, and I feel like I'm gonna have to undo this later. So I'm just gonna reintroduce all this doubling. Makes me so sad though, you know? I don't know. Don't know, and I don't like it. Why doesn't that work? I don't get that. Oh, because I have to have this doubling crap. Oh man, what a mess. What an awful mess. It's truly an awful mess. And then here what we do is we want to go back to how things were, which was, yeah, basically like so. No, not like this. The other direction. Arg. Still learning the basics here. Okay. All right. Okay. Maybe we're going to be back in business in a second here. Maybe. And now here we've got to also rewrap everything in this proto thing. No big deal. All right. Can we refresh now? Will it work now? The answer is no. We're back into broken mode. We're back into broken town. So session.id. This is sad. I like got things kind of working, and then id got things kind of working. This is Goland, so it's by the same people who made PHP Storm, like the JetBrains people. Right, so now what we're doing is we're saying we're loading if this whole top level session thing is nil, and if this dot prop set session is nil, then we can return null, and then we can say if, then we can destructure this thing out. Then we can say if not session dot session or something like that, or just if not session, then return. All right. I think that kind of makes sense. I don't know. What I'm still a little bit confused about is this is still not loading. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, cool. Yay! Okay, we did something good. We did something good. We said, now if you try to load a session that doesn't exist, it says unable to find session. There's no currently active session with the ID, blah. And back to statements. I probably want to make a little new line there. But it's progress. It's a little bit of progress. We just had to reintroduce all that crap. So it's like kind of a little progress and a little bit of regression. Hey, Frozen Leet, thanks for the follow. Frozen Leet. Right, so back on sessions details. We need to have a new line here. That, my friend, is a bannable offense.
Databanks.
Thanks for the follow, Kostrahan. Okay, so how do I, let's see, how come I don't have a new line? How do you do like a basic new line thing in this? Do I just put another div? Is that like kind of the way to do it? Or is that no bueno? What is the bueno? Hey Vainly, how's it going? We're working on a currently active sessions page for this database. Cool. So now I guess what we should probably do, now that that little basic stuff is working out, is we should add some more information to the session page that actually has a corresponding session. That would be a little bit of a better thing. BR, I think that's, BR does not seem like the hotness. Opinions on Pulse.js, I have no idea. I have no clue about Pulse.js, unfortunately. I don't know what to tell you at all. Yeah, BR does not seem to be like in, really. Does not seem to be in. So let's make like a table. Let's make a table. No, we weren't gonna make a table. We were gonna make that little like, I don't know, just sort of like a statistics list. That's what we wanted to do. So what does this look like in the other page that we were gonna copy? The answer is that. The answer is that, right? So what they do here is they have this big tab pane with several tabs, which maybe we could do one day. Right now we don't really need to do that just yet. What they have is, let me turn the light on. It's getting a bit dark. I'm gonna do it via my phone because why not? Hey Google, turn on the light. Look at that. The magic of home automation. I probably shouldn't have exposed that to you guys because you could, I suppose you could like TTS it or something. I actually haven't tested TTS in my stream. I'm not sure if it is like enabled or anything like that. But it looks like what they do is they have this summary card, right? Is that what's going on over here? Statements. What is this? Execution count. I should just search for that. Execution count. No, it's nothing fancy. It's nothing fancy. It's just some divs with some styles. The CX thing that's still a mystery to me. So let's just do that. Let's just do that. We got H2s, we got divs, we've got H4s. That's
hey,
what the
Google,
bits are.
turn off the lights.
Oh wait, no, it's in my headphones. That doesn't make any sense. I totally trolled you into giving me 100 bits. I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry. Obviously, it wasn't going to work because I have headphones on. I'm gonna make a clip of that because I think that's kind of funny. What's a summary card? A summary card seems to be a React thing. No, it's not. It's something specific to us. It is. It just has nothing in it. You laughed, worth it. Hey, and now you have like a little bits leader thing. That's cool. So this is just a way to wrap a bunch of stuff with a special CSS thing, I guess. It seems legit. So why don't we do it? We can say return, let's see. So I would say summary card. And then I can give it parameters, I guess is the idea. How does that work? No, it doesn't take any parameters. I'm just kind of laughing about that TTS situation. That was not clear thinking on my part. Yeah, so here's a question, you guys. So I know that, for example, in this statements table content file, it links to something called statements table content.module.style. What is the deal with this? I mean, presumably, it's basically just CSS, I think, but it also has a funny suffix, and it is not. Like, what is module? I don't know. I don't really know what this stuff is about. I can see that it just is basically just CSS, right? It's, you put the classes and they match up to the thing that you put into that CX wrapper thing. You don't need the React fragments here. It's just for returning multiple top levels as a scalar. Oh, okay. Legit. Get away, Fragment. Get away. Summary card style CX. What is the deal with that? What is the deal with that? Summary card styles. Where was that? Did I just make up that this existed? Statement details, there we go, okay. Summary card style. CX, class names dot bind. Summary card styles. Oh, you know what I bet this is for? You know what I bet this is for? Is it so that you can have, there's like a long prefix that comes before this? Could that be what it's about? And this is like a suffix in some sort of CSS namespace? Is that what it is? Like if I go to summary card styles, no, because there's no prefix here, right? It's just like dot summary card. I don't really get what it's buying you, this CX business. I don't actually understand that. I guess it's so, I don't know. The CSS framework used here is alien to you? Well, that's not good. That's not good for me. But it's fine. I'll just do my thing of continuing to cargo cult this business. I don't see the point of this. I don't really see it. All right, so I've got my H2. And what am I gonna put inside of my H2? The answer is that I wanna put like, what's kind of funny about this UI stuff is that you really have to know what you want. And I don't know what I want at all. I think I just wanted something that says like kind of session, blah, and then some information about it or something like that. Really, I just want something that's like, you know, the info about the session. So I'll just maybe put something that's like session statistics, session details. Get rid of this stuff. The CS must be getting transpiled to add that jumbo namespace prefix. Yeah, like what does it look like in the front end, out of curiosity? So if I do inspect on this, it's probably something really big. Oh, it's got like a weird, it gets like what would you call this? Mangled. Well, not completely. Layout panel, section. Yeah, maybe there's some name mangling. Maybe it's like to avoid having really, really long class names or something like that. But there's all these other ones. I don't know. It's unclear to me. I can ask somebody later. Okay, so I'll have my session details. Then I'm gonna have, what does section give you? I don't really know, but it looks like we use those everywhere. So I'll do that too, I guess. To namespacing, yeah, I think you're probably right. No, what we do down here is divs. I don't know what the difference between a div and a section is. But they use this special item thing. This is something that I really, to be honest, do get bothered by. Which is that like, really what you want here is a way to say like, not have to write out summary dash dash card item. You know what I mean? Like you really want to say like, declare that everything below here is going to be a suffix of summary card item or something like that, you know? And so it almost feels like you have this nesting, which is done with HTML tags. And then you also have a parallel CSS nesting. And there's no way to like declaratively bind the two together. That would really be what would be pretty sick. And I don't know why that's not like a thing that you can do in this framework, because it seems like that's what you want to be doing, but like, I don't know, maybe I misunderstand. Section means that the content inside is grouped, relates to a single theme. It should appear on an entry and an outlet of the page. Div, on the other hand, does not convey any meaning aside from any found in its class, lang, and title attributes. Okay, interesting. So it's like about some semantic information, something like that. I don't know. Interesting, very interesting. Hey, we just hit 700 followers, by the way. Yay! Thanks so much again, CM Griffin, if you're still here for that raid. I really appreciate it. So we did, all right, we'll just do what they do over there. So we'll have an h4, and inside of the h4, we're gonna say the name of the statistic that we wanna print, which I guess is gonna be, oh, you know what they also do with this is that they make it side by side. That's kind of the point, right? It's like, they have this h4, and then I guess based on the CSS, somehow it's side by side. Because in the actual HTML, it's not seemingly anything like that. It's like there's no table going on. This is probably the old thing about HTML tables not being really used. So using the CSS, you can specify that I want this to be a label, and then you can specify down below that you want it to be a value. And that's the thing that's gonna do the horizontal grouping. That is fascinating. And a little bit odd. You'd think that there would be a better way for this, is all I'll say about that, right? Like you'd think that there would be a way to make a tag or something like that called like, you know, summary card item label, and then down here you'd have a tag called summary card item value. Like that would make sense, and it would feel more React-y in a sense. And maybe we could make this a React component, honestly. Like there's nothing stopping us from doing that. It's just, it would be more work, but it would be more pretty, wouldn't it? I don't think I'm gonna do that though. That seems like a lot of work. So what do we want to print? What do we want to print? Back to the critical thing about this whole project, which is that we need to know what we want. So let's go to the underlying data that we have right now, sessions. Here's all we have. This is all it is. Maybe we'll have more someday, but we have the last active query. Maybe let's do that, and we can put it in one of those SQL boxes. Let's do that actually. So up here, we're gonna have like a SQL box value. Is this just the, yeah, so in here we'll say that the value is this dot props dot session dot session dot oh wait, we don't need to do this props because we probably defined session already. So it's just session dot last active query. And then I guess what we want is sort of an h2 here that says like, do we want a whole nother summary card as well? I don't know what these summary cards are really for, but we can try to make one, see what it's like. So actually, let's copy this whole h2 definition. And here we're gonna call it last active query. And then we're gonna put our SQL box here. How come this doesn't work? Oh, it's because of this fragment business. So I guess, how do they get around that over here? Right, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Is that what they do over here? They have a tabs, and then inside of that, they have a call and a row. I feel like I do want a React fragment here. I feel like it does make sense that I want two things side by side. So I'm gonna say react.fragment. Okay. Get rid of this. Well, let's put something here. So I'll just put like, you know, retry count. Then I'll say session dot. Oh, I don't have retry count top level. I need to put, I don't know, something else like the start time or something. Yeah, I remember. Okay, total failure due to objects are not valid as a React child. Oh, it's this time thing. I need to like humanify it. There was something that I did for this already on the other page. So we'll copy that. It's called timestamp to moment. What a beautiful phrase. Timestamp to moment.
Databanks.
Thanks for that follow, Juice Cop. Session dot start. Okay, still some issues. Oh, Oh, moment is a JS library. Do I need to stringify it after this or something? What did I do again? Value of. That's so funny. Okay, let's I see. All right, this is cool. Look, last active query, session details. This doesn't make any sense. I need to fix that. It's not retry count after all. I should really have this sort of be at the top, like session started at. I butchered your name. I'm sorry. Guluskop. Go. Guluskop. Thanks for the correction. Session start time. How come I don't get this? It was working all right in the other spot. In my session link. Oh, I gotta have a format. That's the issue. Okay, we'll try this again. Not value of after all. Format. This is getting so long. Dot format? All right. Try again. This is horrible UI design to have it all randomly done like this, but that part's definitely not my job. I just want to make this stuff possible. I think we have talented designers. And that's not one of me. That's not me. Why is this so big though? You know, like this SQL box is like massive. It's like very, very questionable why it's so big. But that's all good. All right, so really maybe we could have like last active queries and then a bunch of things for all of the currently active queries or something like that. We can try that too. I guess we really want to only display this one if there are any active queries or something like that. Well, it might like jump around unless we're careful. But I guess, okay, so in our actual backing data, let's make an active query so that we can see what it looks like. If I go to the database and I select PG sleep for 1,000, then I go to look at what's here. I see that I have an active queries information, and I also have active transaction information. I have like way more information now. And what I really want to be able to do is put information about both of these things. An active transaction if it exists, and then inside of that active transaction, any active queries that are available. I think that in reality, there's only going to be ever at most one active query at a time. So this kind of information is a little bit of a lie, but I suppose I just don't know if it really matters. I guess what I should start with is some information about the active transaction, perhaps. So I'll say active transaction. I don't have a SQL box here. Then I'll do another one of these situations. So I'll have a div with some information. And I'll put the transaction start time, which is also a thing. So session.activeTXN. Ooh, but here's the thing. I need to actually make sure that this only works if there is an active transaction at all. Again, I'm not sure how to make this so that it doesn't like jump around.
Databanks.
Hey, thanks for that follow, Rizari. But this is cool. Look, we have an active transaction with a start time. I don't know why it's not side by side now. Is it because I didn't like make the CSS for that side by side thing available, perhaps? Like over here, no. It doesn't seem like we or perhaps it's this require business that's index.module.style. No. I guess I'm just wondering, like, in the statement details page, in the statement details page, how is it that these things are side by side, right? And I thought that just by specifying those CSS classes, it would automatically put them side by side, but I guess that's not actually the case because we don't see that happening fundamentally, right? So if I inspect the one that is working, what do I get? I get summary card item value. Oh, and you see it has this mangled name. That is important for whatever reason. I don't know why. But actually all the other values seem to be quite about the same. Maybe a parent class is missing? Yeah, it's very possible. But I guess I don't know. I wish I knew kind of like how that stuff is set up properly. Maybe it's just that I need to link in CSS that contains these requires or something like that. It could totally be that. I'll try that out, see what happens. So when I import these styles, what I'm actually importing is styles from some other random thing. So that's definitely not correct. I kind of need to make a new page for this, I guess. So session details.module.style, and then I think I have to make a file for that. Or I guess I could just touch it. Package UI. Where does it live? I don't even really know. Source views. Sessions. Session. Session details.module.style, I guess. And then in here, I guess this is the thing. Since I don't understand how this stuff works, I don't know what I'm supposed to really put in here, considering that like all I really want to do is inherit. I don't want to do anything special. Oh, it's not this one though. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong style file. I need to be looking at statement detail module style, this thing. So maybe this thing is going to have a thing that makes sure that those things are laid out side by side. No, it still doesn't. So it must be one of these imports, I guess. I mean, dude, I have no clue. No clue what I'm doing here. If I just require these, I wonder if it changes anything. It very well might. Okay, so if I go back to this page and I refresh, does it change anything? Now everything just doesn't work. So I guess I did something, which is exciting. Something happened. And the something was that cannot resolve session details.module.style. Did I misspell it, perhaps? Source views statements. Oh, I have the wrong directory. There is the problem. Okay, let's try that again. Cool. Okay, so that worked, but it didn't fix the issue with this side-by-side business. I don't know. I got no clue. No clue. 0% of a clue. I'm defining stuff like sections, page headers, blah, 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 but I didn't define anything to do with anything at all to do with those summary cards, which was the whole point. The point is that the summary card labels and the summary card items, I think, are supposed to... So here's something interesting. Summary card styles. I actually import something called summary card styles. That seems very relevant, doesn't it? But I never use it? I use it here, and I use it here. Dude, I don't know. What's up, Gaming Bo? I don't get this. Summary card styles. This is where it lives. Summary card.module.style. How come? How come it doesn't work? What if I search for summary summary card. Get rid of this file mask. Is it this item business that I haven't defined? Could that be the issue? Do I need to define something called item? I think I did see something called item. That's probably the issue. I bet if I go over here into statement details module, there's probably something called item. No, there isn't. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. I don't know. Statement details dot t. Oops, not this one. Statement details dot tsx. Where does this item thing come from? I don't get that. On mobile, Twitch About Me does not have my blog post as hyperlinks. Oh, interesting. I should fix that. Thanks for pointing that out. I appreciate that. And thanks for that follow, Gibson Master. Thanks for checking out my blog, by the way. I don't know. I don't really get why this CSS isn't working. I feel like that's like a classic issue. I feel like people say that all the time throughout the world. I don't get why the CSS isn't working. I bet I'm not the only one.
Databanks.
Yo, Mini Woo, thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. All right, well, whatever. This is not the point. The point is just that we want to dump a bunch of information here so that we can be excited about it. SpaceX Jedi, thanks for that follow. So let's dump some information. How about? Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's swallow our disgust and do it. It's late where you also have to go. Yeah, I hope you can come back. I stream every Friday and every Sunday. Friday at 3 p.m. EST and Sunday at 6 p.m. EST. So that's my schedule. Throw me a follow on Twitter. And I tweet out every time I stream. So I hope to see you next time too. Thanks, man. Thanks for stopping in. Hey, Voxelholic, thanks for that follow. All right, so we're gonna add some more. Do we want to do a new div for each of these informations? This should be working, but it's not every time someone does software development. Yeah, I agree. What's up, One Plane? In another situation, do we make a separate div for each of these little things that are supposed to be rows? They're supposed to be rows, but they're not working as rows. We make a separate div for each of them. Oh, is it because I didn't make the class name an item? Yo, I think I figured it out. Okay, I think the issue is just that I need to make the div have the class of this item, I guess. So if I do this properly, then I bet this will render nicely. Let's find out. Okay, so it renders kind of nicely, but it's like extremely widescreen. So that's cool, I guess. I guess it's progress. They make their layout work similar to normal divs and Bootstrap. Like, yeah, I was just trying to like interop with something that already exists. I wasn't really trying to make anything fresh, and I was just failing to make something work. I guess it like kind of works right now, but it's wide. Somebody, yeah, we'll have to figure out how to fix that later. But for now, let's just make more information. We're gonna make a bunch of these divs. If the first div box is set to full screen, it might push the second one below it. I don't know. Okay, so we're gonna have the transaction start time. What else do we want to have? Back to the point. We want to have the number of statements executed, the number of retries. These are good things to have. Let's add all of these. And the deadline. I guess the deadline's empty in this case, but if it's not empty, we could put it, I suppose. Yeah, this is cockroaches in CockroachDB. So we want to put all of these things. Num statements executed. We'll call this number of statements executed. We don't need to explain it more than that necessarily. I don't know. So I'll say session.activeTXN.num statements executed. The thing is, okay, here's the thing. Sometimes a session might not have an active transaction. Then I don't know what to display. Number of retries, number of automatic retries. Probably these things all want tooltips too. That seems to be the thing to do. Session.activeTXN.num retries. And I guess we'll want the same thing down here, except it'll be num auto retries. I also don't like that these things are so wide. Like, is that normal for TypeScript, or should I like really put some new lines in there? In the other case, it looks like what we do is, the other case we just put a really long thing. I mean, I suppose that's okay. So I'll just keep it. Just copying what we do elsewhere is the name of the game. All right, so back up here, except for this is looking fine. And besides the fact that it's super widescreen, it's looking fine. Oh, you guys also can't see it. I should make this a bit smaller. Like so. Oh, that's actually more aesthetic anyway. There we go. Okay, let's just pretend we didn't have a widescreen problem. You know how we do that? We make our window less wide. No problem. Okay. So active transaction info, if there is any. I guess what we could do is if there's no active transaction, we could print something out that's like no active transaction. So we can do that. Now how would I put an inline if here? I guess, can I just, no, this is text that I'm typing. So do I need to like, maybe I need to specify, I could like put this as a variable up above or something like that. I guess I could say, yeah, so I'll say if var above or ternary and curly braces. Yeah, it's too big for a ternary. It's like this whole section, so I'll just do a var. So if I'll say if session.activeTXN, and I guess I'll say txn info is equal to, and then I'll just put this whole thing. I guess what's the convention for having a variable that's defined one way if a Boolean is the case and one way if it's not? Do I say like var txn info? Can I just declare something here and then say txn info is equal to, and then specify this whole thing? Is that what I would do? I'm gonna try that.
Computers hooked into over 1,000 databanks throughout the world.
Thanks for the follow, front end. I need to figure out what's wrong with my like stuttery alerts at some point, but I appreciate that follow. Is this something that I can do? This is not seemingly something that I can do. Maybe I need to put one of those like react.fragment things. Does this work? This seemingly works fine. I guess I can just say like, I can make a default up here. I'll just put like no active transaction. I could break the route into a separate component. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a really good point. The thing is that I don't want to do it. The reason I don't want to do it is that there's like a bunch of other people using this stuff already, and I'm not ready to like refactor all of their code as well. But I think you're totally right. I think you're totally right. So then down here, I guess I would put like txn info. Is that, can you just do that? Does that work? I don't really know. This might be working, but I thought I did have an active transaction on this thing. Maybe not. Maybe my PG sleep finished. Okay, so in this case, I've got no active transaction, but then hopefully if I go and restart this transaction with another sleep. Yay, okay, that's actually kind of cool. So that was easy. It's a little ugly. It's very ugly, but it's functional. And again, the purpose of this was not to make something that looked good. It's to make something that does anything so that I can prove to people that this is a good idea. If it works, it works. Yo, X Henry K 13, thanks for stopping by. How you doing? All right. So back to this area. What else do we want to add? We basically just want to render like this entire thing. I guess, you know, I mean, what would be really next level is if I could put the ID of the transaction inside of this table thing and then turn that into a link. And then I could have theoretically a whole other page for the transaction. I don't know if that's really necessary at this point, but you know, it's like a thing that you could do. But if you could, doesn't necessarily mean you should. I think I'll avoid doing that for now. Let's just add this other information in then. So we want to do this alloc bytes and max alloc bytes thing. I think that's really good information to have. So basically what this is about is, okay, let me do a demo actually. This is, I think this is actually really, really
Databanks
cool.
throughout the world.
Hey, thanks for the follow. So if I make a session and I ask the session to do something that's really memory intensive, like join, doing it that way would make it seem similar to cloud services. Okay, good to know. If I did a big join against a table many times, then I think I'm going to cause that query to use up a lot of memory, and then we can sort of watch as that memory grows. If we turn the refresh rate up high enough, which is kind of, this like exposed a bug in my thing last time, but it's actually kind of a neat feature that you could imagine working if you had like WebSockets instead of just like polling for this information. But hey, Roa the Nose, thanks for the follow, and Blackclaw as well. So let's make a big old join. Let's make a table. We already have a table. Let's delete this table. Drop table A, create table. We're gonna give it, I guess we could have probably reused that, whatever. A in primary key. Let's actually just give it no primary key, and well, we'll go like this. We've got an A and a B. We're gonna insert into A, select star from generate series. We can just put a bunch of data in here, 100,000 rows. And yeah, so we can join this table against itself a bunch of times. How about, so we'll say select count star from A. We'll call it A1, join A2 on true. So this is going to be a table that just takes the Cartesian product of all 100,000 rows, which will use up a bunch of memory. So then if we go to the front end, well, if we can look at this JSON, for example, we should see this alloc bytes and max alloc bytes number going up. And in fact, we don't need to use the JSON. We can, because we already added this last time. We have, in our sessions page, you can see that there's some memory usage that is a bit, I mean, it's claiming 890 kilobytes, which is a little less than I would have expected. Let's try this again. Hold on. What is this doing? I was expecting it to use quite a bit more memory than that, honestly. Let's just join it against itself again. So A3. I need an on true. Oh, I guess I could say, instead of this, I could just say select count star from A1, comma A2, comma A8. So this is just going to do the same thing without having to specify a join condition. So if I run this, hopefully we'll see a bunch more memory usage. So 1.8 megabytes. If I refresh, it should go up more. Why doesn't it go up more? You're new to coding. It's really cool. Oh, yeah. It's fun. It's cool that you're watching. Thanks for stopping by. It's not really 12:30 a.m. by the way where I am. This is just like UTC, I think. Let me actually reintroduce that bug because I thought it was really cool. So if I go to this like, what is the page that gives me the refresh information again? What the heck was that? I can't actually remember. Maybe if I look at my git diff, I'll be able to remember. Git status. So it's this API reducers thing. Yeah, the component update one, exactly. API reducers. So if I go back to this, and then I change this to get back that bug that we had last time. So this is a timeout of 0. And then if we do this again and watch
computers hooked into over 1,000 databanks throughout the world,
then the idea is that we'll watch the memory usage grow as the query is running, which I thought was just super cool. It's not doing it this time. I wonder why. That's a little bit curious. Hey, Marco. Thanks for that follow, Marcos. What's up, Kiko? Thanks, everyone, for joining. I don't know why it's not doing that same cool behavior it was last time. I really like that. It must have been something special about the... Oh, you know, I think it is doing it. It's just like, this time it's just very quick. So I just need to specify like many of these things. And then at a certain point, it'll probably hit a threshold of being super slow. Yeah, you can sort of see it, but it's kind of too fast. Is it possible to distribute ACID transactions? Yes, it is definitely possible to do that. Is this a website? So what I'm working on is the sort of admin console for a database. So this product is a generic distributed SQL database. And if you run this thing, this is sort of the website that you can go to learn about what the database is doing. So here's the capacity that it's using, the status of the different nodes. Right now, there's only one node in my cluster, but you might have many since it's distributed. Information about the ranges, some metrics. It's like, you know, it's sort of like an admin console in a sense. It's got some database information, and what we're adding is more information. So information about the currently active sessions and stuff like that. And no worries about basic questions. I'm happy to answer them. But I mean, anyway, I don't know. Whatever. Let's let's not do that demo now, because it's not really working. The demo, not sure why that wasn't doing what I expected, but we had something slightly different last time. Anyway, why was I even doing that? What am I even talking about? What I wanted to do, right? I wanted to add the currently active memory usage to the session details page. That was sort of the next step. So underneath here, I'll probably put more rows. Ooh, and this is right where we needed to add that CSS class to make it possible to actually display it in a table format. So we'll copy that and come back down here into session details, and this will give us that nice table. Okay, so now that we've got that, we can, I think that whoever said the thing about making this a React component, you're definitely right, and I should really make this a React component, but I also am afraid of being forced to refactor a bunch of other stuff. So I don't want to do it. But we're gonna say memory usage. And then I think for this we can copy. Yeah, every time we do copying though, it really makes it feels like we shouldn't be.
Computers hooked into over 1,000 databanks.
Hey, Honey Badger, thanks for that. Thanks for that follow. How is consistency being guaranteed? So what we use for that is this distributed consensus algorithm called Raft that you can learn about. But the way Raft works and all of its friends like Paxos and the other distributed consensus algorithms is that they help you decide as a group of machines on a single answer to a question, basically. It's making sure that all of the nodes in a group are sort of working in lockstep, always getting the same answer. And using that as a primitive, you can implement a lot of stuff, including distributed transactions. It's not really my area, I will say. I'm not an expert on distributed transactions, and mostly what I work on is the SQL execution engine. So I know a lot more about that than distributed transactions, but I know a little bit about it. I know that it's possible. You asked if it was possible, so I'm telling you. But yeah.
The computer's hooked into over 1,000 databanks throughout the world.
Yo, Void Rose, thanks for that follow. So for my memory usage though, here's what I had. I had a thing Where is it? Sessions page. Oh, I defined it in a different table. This sessions table file. Inside of here, I have this. Thing. Mem usage, and I call this bytes function, which somebody defined for us, and I add the max. I sort of add the currently allocated bytes, and I put it next to the maximum allocated bytes that session's ever seen. Yo, Bucky, thanks for that follow too. So I'll do that. I'll do that too. I don't know. This copying stuff, it's definitely sketchy, right? Like, you don't want to be doing this. You don't want to be doing this. But what are you gonna do? If you're me, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna do it anyway. You're gonna swallow your pride and just do it anyway. So here we kind of close this bracket. This is like way too long of a line though, right? So let's at least make the line into a couple lines. Okay. It's called an iris. I have some deets on it in this command. All right, so back over here. Hopefully we'll see. Oh, but it's sort of laid out on the side. That doesn't make sense. What did I do? How come that's happening, I wonder? You once used two-phase commit protocol and you hated it? Yeah, I mean it's that is related. I think the transaction protocol that it's used on top of Raft is similar to two-phase commit. We actually have a paper out about this that you can check out if you're interested. I'll stick a link to it because I think it's actually pretty cool. Let me just turn off this flux business. But let me stick a link to this paper. CockroachDB Sigmod. My name's actually in this paper, which I'm pretty proud of. I wrote a little bit of it. I think a lot of it, I wrote the section on SQL. But you can check it out over here if you're interested. I think that's free. I think the ACM thing is free. Somebody just asked that same question, so I'm just gonna give you a little command, but don't be offended, please. Hey, lack of supervision. Thanks for that follow. Okay, so why is it happening? Why is it being laid out side to side though? That doesn't really make that much sense to me because we basically did the same thing up here. We have our div. We have our, oh, it's because we have to have a separate div for each one. That's right. We have to have a separate div for each one. So like this, I think that'll fix the issue. You got free access? That's cool. All right, so we got our basic session details here. It doesn't have any memory info, but that's probably because we haven't done anything in this session yet. Now I think if I refresh, I should see, yeah, so check it out. I got this memory usage that's kind of increasing, which was the hope. We see 5.4 megabytes currently used out of 5.4 megabytes total allocated ever in this session. We have our session start time. We have the last active query. What we don't yet have is the currently active query. So I want to add that next. So we'll make another section. Again, this is not good UI design, but I don't know, whatever. I just want to put the sort of information up there so that people know that it's possible. So I'll say active transaction info as well as active statement info. And then I suppose it's the same thing, kind of like I'll make a txn info, and then I'll make a cur statement info. And by default, it's gonna be empty, no active statement. And then not by default, I'll have more stuff. So I'll say if session dot active queries. dot length is greater than 0. I'll say her statement info is equal to, and then a bunch of stuff. So what does your SQL project unique, what makes it unique over whatever is already out there? Yeah, so I mean, the main thing is just that it's distributed. It's a distributed SQL database that automatically does, I don't know, you may have done like sharding of SQL databases by hand. That's kind of like the thing that was pretty popular and still is pretty popular all over the place, but it's a lot of work and kind of hard to do right. So the idea with CockroachDB is that you can use it just as a regular SQL database, but all of the sharding and replication and durability stuff is handled for you automatically if you set up a cluster of machines. And you can do stuff with geodistribution as well. So you could have a cluster that spans, from the West Coast to the East Coast of the United States, plus Europe or something if you wanted. And you can set up policies for the way that data is replicated across all those regions. And you can set things up so that you can have efficient access no matter where you are. You can have fast reads, you can have fast writes, or slow writes, depending. If you want to replicate everywhere, you're going to have to do some slow stuff. But the idea is that it's a more configurable distribution model than or I guess more easily configurable and more automatic distribution model over what's popular or what's possible in many existing, manual sharding SQL solutions. There's another, it's getting to be more of a popular kind of database. We're certainly not the only database that does this stuff, but we're definitely part of sort of a new generation of SQL databases that lets you do this. Spanner from Google was kind of one of the pioneers in this space. CockroachDB, some other ones, Yugabyte, TiDB. There's a couple of other databases that are kind of like this, but I think we're the best. But I also work there, so I might be a little biased. Cool. So let's make some current statement info stuff. We're gonna have what data do we have in here again? We've got the ID, the transaction ID, which we don't really need to specify. The SQL, that's interesting. The start time, whether it's distributed. Okay, so we'll do all of these things. I don't know what phase is. That's kind of weird. I don't know what that's about at all. Yeah, let's do this. Let's make it happen. I'm just gonna copy this into my paste buffer so that I can see from my editor like what I'm even trying to add, because it's hard to remember unless you have it in front of your face. So I'll just stick it here. I'll just make it into a little object. Oh God, don't do that. Don't do that, editor. I'll just put comments in front of it then. How about that? Okay. So we're gonna have currently executing SQL. You know what we could do is we could make this into one of those SQL boxes. That would be nice. So up top, we'll say
Databanks.
Yo, thanks for that follow, Ni Riri. I don't know how to say that. Sorry if I probably butchered it. So we'll put a SQL box. And the value is going to be session.activeQueries. You know what we should also do is define what the active query is. So we'll say statement is equal to, we'll say const statement is equal to session.activeQueries of 0. Simple. So then we'll say the value of this is going to be statement.SQL, right? Yeah, it's all open source. It's all open source. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's all open source. Check it out on GitHub. That's one of the greatest things about this place is that it is all open source. It's so cool. Into it. That'd be so funny if I was just like rogue streaming all of the closed source stuff. Don't worry. I wouldn't do that. That would be really bad. Yeah, I work for Cockroach. So we're gonna put the current SQL up top. Then we're gonna put the start time. So we'll put statement start time. I guess I could say execution start time. I'll put, this is distributed. I mean, some of this stuff is actually duplicative of what's in the sort of historical statements page, but I guess I can just copy it here. Distributed execution question mark. And so this distributed execution thing, by the way, of course, every SQL query is distributed in a sense in CockroachDB because it's SQL running on a distributed database, but there's a distinction between a query that can run completely on the gateway node, or the query that is running completely on a gateway node. So in other words, the node that you connect to could serve the query all by itself and sort of fetch data underlying from other nodes. There's a distinction between that and the mode of execution in which we push SQL execution itself to other nodes. And that's what we call distributed execution. So you might imagine if you're filtering a giant table and you don't want to stream all of the rows of the giant table across the network, you could conceivably decide to push the filter as close to the data as possible using, just using code in a sense. and so that's what we mean by distributed execution, when you're pushing these operators close to the data that they're operating over.
Databanks.
Yo, Zane Cassidy, thanks for that follow. So I think there's a Boolean renderer thing that we've got, something like where I saw it on this other page, so I'm gonna use that. Using code. Exactly. That is a very Kappa kind of thing to say. All right, so there's something called render bools. Wow, and it's just a little mini. Wait, what? Render bools of fraction? I don't get this. Hey, Kiva Show, welcome to the stream. Thanks for hopping in. We're working on some front-end, React, TypeScript stuff. I don't exactly understand why this render bools thing seems to take in something called a fraction. That doesn't make any sense to me. Are these things somehow... Oh, you know what it is that, I see. The problem is that in this other context, we actually have a number of yeses versus a number of nos. In our case, we only have a single yes and a single no. So I guess we want to just sort of render the Boolean as a Boolean. So I guess maybe we can just say statement dot is distributed and things will sort of work out.
Computers hooked into over 1,000 databanks.
Yeah, these alerts are so broken. I don't know what the deal is. Kiva Show, thanks for that follow. Maybe if I refresh the like alert page, it'll stop doing that. It's driving me crazy, honestly. What if I go here and say refresh cache of current page? I wonder if that'll help in OBS. Out of curiosity, what happens when I resend that alert? Do you think that'll have fixed it? Kiva Show, you're lucky. You're gonna get a double alert.
The computer's hooked into over 1,000 databanks throughout the world.
It like kind of helped. I still heard a little bit of stuttering at the beginning. I don't know why that happens. It's really frustrating. I gotta fix that. Maybe it's like my computer's a little bit slow or crappy or something. I don't know. Let's go. Exactly. All right, so we got the distributed execution thing. This phase thing, I have no clue what it is. This progress thing is only active under like random circumstances, so I think I'm gonna ignore it. So I guess that's all we have, which is fine. It's not that exciting, I guess, but let's delete this rest of the stuff. And you know, what we could do is also add more information to this right now if we felt like it, which might be something that's fun to do. But first, let's put this cur statement info in here. Maybe we want to put it up top, actually above the transaction info. Well, I don't know. I don't actually know. UI design, not my strong suit. Not my strong suit at all. But check it out. What do we got? So we have the active transaction info. We have the active statement info. We have the execution start time of the statement. It's a total mess, you guys. And distributed execution is not even printing at all. So I have to figure out what the deal is with that. What's the benefit of the keyboard? Yeah, it's just like the idea is you know, it's more ergonomic to have like a split keyboard, because you know how like if you're typing on a normal keyboard, your hands are kind of like, let's see, they're kind of like this because your arms have to come in. I'm bad at doing this. Your hands are like straight up and down and your arms are sort of like at an angle. That for over time, it's gonna like hurt your wrists, or at least it did for me. This is just a personal preference thing. I'm going to repeat that. It's a personal preference thing. I like this keyboard because it feels more comfortable for me. But the angles are kind of helpful for not having painful wrists. Anyway, all right. So let's check. This distributed execution thing's not quite working. Let's fix that. Let's fix that. So instead, we don't have this render bools business, but what we do have is just a simple ternary, which is, I think, what I'm going to do. So I'll say, so if it's distributed, true, otherwise false. Is that going to work? Does that fix it? Ortho is better than staggered. Yeah, there's a whole world of stuff with that. So it's true, but it's kind of rendered poorly. Like how do we make it rendered nicely in this other world? Oh, it says yes or no, not true or false. So I'll switch it to doing that. What's up, T13? How's it going? You sound like a keyboard person. Okay, nice. So we have the execution start time. We know that it's distributed. That's cool. You know what we should really do is make it, I like this sort of side to side, or do I like this side by side thing? How is that set up in the other page? Should we copy it? In the other page, what we have is, you're just practicing on your Ergo docs a couple minutes ago? Oh man, you switched keyboard layouts? That's intense. That is a serious commitment, my friend. I respect it. I respect it. But it's, man, oh man. You're putting yourself in for a lot of work. I see. So, oh, what we have is this row and call thing. What is this about? Row. It's from something called AntD. Grid. I guess this is like a framework that lets you do grid stuff. I believe in you, man. Yeah, with Vim. Yeah, all those, you know, you might want to like remap things back to the way they feel in Vim or something if you're in normal mode. It's like so much work though. It's a lot of work. Why don't we do this? It seems cool. It seems cool. Let's try it out. So we're gonna go back over here. Down below, what we're gonna do is say, I mean, here's the thing though. It's like unclear to me in this case whether we want this thing to be, you know, active statement. It's unclear to me whether we want it to be the last active query or the active statement, or like, what do you actually want as the main, the sort of front page? I think what you really want is like the active transaction along with what the active statement inside of the transaction or something like that. I mean, I suppose we could do that, you know? Like if there's a transaction, put this thing front and center that has active transaction info. And if inside of the transaction there's a current statement, put a thing that's also front and center that says what's the currently running statement. I guess I kind of like that. And then you can have the side stats to the side or something like that. I don't know. Wait, let's just do it. You know, we're playing around. So I guess that's also kind of nice because I think it means we can get rid of this React fragment stuff. So essentially, we're going to move all of this stuff. So the active transaction is going to go into the left side, like so. That was the active statement. We want to just move the active transaction. Also, none of this is like feeling happy now because of the fact that I've removed this fragment. I guess I can put the row all the way down at the bottom to make things at least compile according to my editor. Okay. Okay. So. Let us focus. At the top, we're gonna have active transaction info first. Where is that? Did I like delete it? Am I editing the wrong thing or something? What's happening? Oh, right. No, it's just up here because I've defined it separately. I think I did delete something, but it doesn't really matter. I can just reinstate it. So I'm gonna have something called active transaction info. And then I'm gonna put inside of it txn info. And then I think inside of this very summary card, I'll also put the active statement info if it exists. So I'll grab this, leave its summary card alone. Kind of see what that looks like. And we'll make it an H3, I think. Maybe. What does this look like? Oh my God, that looks god awful. What have I done? Oh man, this looks horrible. It's because of this last active query thing. I just need to get rid of that, and then I think things will probably look decent. Who needs last active query anyway? That doesn't seem that useful. I'll take that stuff out. I just won't use SQL box for it. Well, maybe I'll just put it down at the bottom. I'll keep it on the left and put it at the bottom. So back up here. Wait, what did I do? Grab this. Put it up here. No summary card. Use H3. Maybe these need to have divs. Like just cuz. I don't know. So it's sort of saying like inside of the current transaction, here's the statement info. And then the last active query, I guess that wants to be an H2, not an H3. Okay, this is looking a little bit more sane. I think this is still messed up. Oh, it's probably because it's a summary card. We don't really want to make it a summary card at all. How did I become a database expert? Really, the answer is that I worked at a company that works on a database. I wasn't really a database expert before I started working at a company that makes one. So we can get rid of this React fragment stuff. And I think what we want to do is put another call now. I think that's the issue. We need to put another call. And what we want to do is just copy what they did in the other page. Like this, class name, gutter row, blah, blah, blah. Why don't I commit my work? The reason is that it's probably because I'm working on stream. I don't like think about making commits enough on stream. When I'm off stream, I would commit a lot more often. It's really because like the stuff that I do on stream is like prototyping more than like actual work that is permanent in a sense. If I ever take stuff that I did on stream and move it into production, which I've done at least a couple of times, I always like redo a lot of it off of stream. Not redo necessarily, but like clean it up, add more comments, add more tests, make atomic commits out of it and stuff like that. I don't know. I think you're probably right that I could do more commits on stream. I just haven't really learned to do that yet. Why did they hire me? I don't know. I think they were just looking for generalists. That people, a lot of the people who join the company don't really know too much about databases until they learn. You know, databases is not exactly something that you are going to learn unless you work at a company that makes one. Just in a lot of cases. You can learn details about how databases work. I think that's pretty common. But how databases are implemented, that doesn't generally come unless you're a specialist. You know, you studied it in school, you worked at a company that does it, or you're a hobbyist, you know, you're interested. So what they have is a nice box. I want to add a box. I try not to be that guy, Kiko. I know what you're saying. There's
Computers
always
hooked into over 1,000
that
data
guy or
banks
that
throughout the
person
world.
that makes big commits that are hard to review. I try not to be that person. In this case, I certainly am being that person, but what are you gonna do? Right, so what was I gonna do is look in this statement details thing and see how they made that nice looking how does this work? Row, summary card. Do I just need to put a summary card? Is that the issue? I think that's the issue. I don't know how this black magic works, but it's great. I love it. I love the magic that makes this stuff look nice without me having to think about it. Yo, that's looking pretty fire. It's no longer looking like something that fell out of a butthole. Thanks, Sartak. But yeah, Honey Badger, I don't know. I probably gave you a horrible answer there. To be honest, the reason that they hired me is that I'm a good programmer with a lot of experience doing system stuff. If you want to get hired at a company that does system stuff, you should try to get some experience doing that. Whether that's doing hobby projects if you're still in school, take your classes if you're at school, try to do some internships, try to work at companies that are doing similar stuff. It's all about getting experience. And yeah. Databases haven't changed since COD. It's always the same. There's a lot of similar stuff for sure. So I'm using Vim bindings inside of an IDE. I think what I really want to do is make little like separators here though, because it's a bit ugly that there isn't there aren't these separators. How do they do this? This is so nice. I think these are rows in this like grid framework thing. Maybe? No. You can learn anything, just no one give you the opportunity. It's hilarious that they want you to be under 30 with 30 years of experience. Yeah, sorry, if I made it sound like you can't learn anything, I didn't mean to make it sound that way at all. I think that you can absolutely learn anything. You do have to have time though. I think that's the one thing that you can't really not have. Time spent learning the thing, you know? Whether that's gonna be, you have to do it. You have to do it. You have to put in the hours. Learn the framework, play around, practice with stuff, build little projects. Get on somebody else's project, There's just no way around putting time into it. That's all that I was trying to say. Use the inspector. Yo, good call. So here's the inspector. The inspector says... Oh, right, I can use this thing too. Oh, this thing is so cool. Okay, so this is... Okay. It seems to be a lot of nested stuff inside of things called context consumers. So
Databanks.
unfortunately, this is like, I don't even know what the deal is with this stuff. Hey, thanks for the follow, Ashen Siege. Is this just me, or is this sort of gibberish? I mean, is this like getting mangled somehow and that's my problem, or? React DOM? I mean, I don't know what this stuff is. Like, how come they don't have good names? Oh, it's because they're anonymous. It probably makes sense that they have to have anonymous names because they're anonymous. But you'd think that they would like have their component name in the title or something like that. Hey, Kiko, thanks so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Have a good night, man. Yeah, I stream every Friday and Sunday, so catch me then. Production rather than debug builds. It could be, it very well could be production instead of debug builds. I don't know how to configure that though, unfortunately. I had my cursor on the divider line in the code. Oh, you think like over here I did or something? Oh yeah, you're right. Bailey, I appreciate you. I just looked, I was like staring at that and not even like thinking about what it might mean. I was just like, okay, weird. There's an empty tag. I wonder why that's there. So that's a very fair point. That is a very, very fair point. I guess what I'll want to do is separate it. I guess I'll put it in between. Put it in between the active transaction info and the last active query. Like this. That seemed to put it in not the place that I was expecting. For some reason. Oh, that's because what I did made no sense. I want it to be here. And this stuff is all indented wrong. Ugh, the whole indentation thing. I've got to figure that out. There's got to be a way to add a plugin or something that does this stuff for you. I think someone mentioned it, Prettier and ESLint and stuff. I just have to, I don't want to configure that on stream. It sounds really boring. Okay, this is at least something.
The computer's hooked into over 1,000 databanks throughout the world.
Jiminy Cricket, thanks for that follow. I mean, I could even put a separate card for it, right? Like maybe that would even be better looking. Why don't I try that to see what it looks like at least? So I'll put, instead of this separator, I'll put a summary card. Or I'll make a new one rather. Yeah, Cockroach is written in Go. It sure is. What's wrong with this? I didn't end the div. What is this div? What is going on? Did I never end this div or? Oh, it's all the way down here. I don't know if I really need this. It seems kind of unnecessary. TBH. Okay. I think that theoretically this would be better, except I still have this pointless divider thing that I need to get rid of. And this thing is also pretty ugly right now. It's kind of like what I want is... I want like a sub box, but I don't really know how to make one of those. And I'm not going to try to find out. I think I might just leave things like they are, because this is not, I just am not going to be the most effective at making this stuff look pretty. I just wanted to surface the information. You're working on open source and Go right now for web RTC metadata. Oh, that's really cool. That sounds so relevant to Twitch and stuff. I know. I think that there's a lot of interesting technology with the way that like live video streams work and stuff like that. That I don't really know too much about it. You know what I was thinking about that would be really cool? You know what a common problem is on Twitch, especially in the programming world, is that sometimes people like to play music on their stream. And sometimes people don't want to listen to music on the stream. So why isn't there a way to send 2 audio streams and let the client control how loud each of the audio streams is, you know? Wouldn't that be sweet? Do you think, I mean, presumably Twitch doesn't support that, but like, I'm sure the protocol does. A lot of RFC documents. Wouldn't that be cool though? Because then you could have music, and the viewer could be like, "No, I don't want to listen to this music. I'm just going to listen to the person talking." If they wanted to listen to their own music, otherwise, or it's like the music's too loud, so they could turn it down. Wouldn't that be sick? Yeah, pick what kind of audio track you get. Different video angles, components, and streams. Yeah, totally. I feel like with some of that stuff, it's like you do sort of want to, you know, design much of what the stream looks like. That's kind of like a core thing of what you're doing. But for audio, I mean, I suppose for video, yeah, why not? Like if nobody wants to like see this pointless keyboard cam, they could just like turn it off or something like that. Or like have Only camera, no code. Little like SpaceX does with the double streaming launches, so you have the option of having the nets in the background as well. Yeah, exactly. I think that could be really neat. You know what's actually cool is that I found that there's this thing called what is it called again?
The computer's hooked into over 1,000 databanks throughout the world.
There's a project called streamlink.github.io, which is, it's just a little utility that gets the like raw, I don't know, video URL or something from Twitch and lets you push it into VLC, which is so much more efficient, by the way. Like, why? Like the Twitch website is pretty heavyweight, I want to say. It uses up a lot of CPU, and just streaming the thing over VLC is like really, really lightweight and nice. The main problem with this thing is it doesn't have chat on the side, so you have to have a separate chat window, and then you have a browser again, so it's like sort of messed up. But it's really close to being sort of nice. It was kind of cool playing with this. Hey, thanks for the follow, ErgoDev. Yeah, check this thing out though. It's actually really cool. Chromium is using 44% of a Xeon E3 just for the tab. Yeah, dude, not cool. Not cool at all. You could probably kludge 2 audio channels by splitting it between right and left. Oh yeah, that's true. You'd want something on the client end to remix the audio so you don't hear them distinct. How do I hit space? It's this button here. It's just, I don't know if you can see, probably not. It's like this one. It's just the way that I have it mapped.
Databanks.
Yo, Gaming Bow, thanks for that. Oh yeah, you know, I should really put a link to this config stuff that I have, because I think this is another common question that people ask. But if you go to my GitHub, and let's see. I feel like, I don't think I want to show all of this stuff on stream, because what if I show something like a private repo or something? Let me just find it in another window before I do something dumb. Right, so there's this repo here, QMK firmware, which is how you like kind of configure these mechanical keyboards. And so if you go, whoops, this is not the right, so this is like my key map here. Sorry, let me pull it up in a thing that's a little bit more comprehensible. It's kind of cool. Like the way that this program works is that, well, it's just a C program, but they have this nice convention where they lay out like all of the key bindings in a little visual way so that you can see for each of the keys on the keyboard kind of physically what each of them corresponds to. And you can have, you know, layers and stuff like that. I should put a link to this because people are always asking about my key map. What do I like about Go and about this DB or project? What's for? Ever used Erlang or Elixir comparison? I've never used Erlang or Elixir. I think that they're really cool. I want to check out Elixir. It seems popular and awesome. Go, I like it. The thing that I like about Go, I think, is that it's a pretty simple language, all said and done, which means that when you have an idea, there's usually kind of a straightforward way to do the idea, and that's going to be the right way to do it in a sense. I don't know. Personally, I find that if I'm working with a language that has a lot more features, like, you know, one of the statically typed functional programming languages that are really awesome and powerful, but very kind of like opinionated, I guess would be the word. There's a certain paradigm that you have to use with them. I think with those languages, you end up thinking a lot more to get basic stuff out because you want to make the perfect abstraction. I think for me, Go is a language that makes me not have to think that much about the perfect abstraction. And it provides the freedom to make those abstractions later, in a sense. I think there's some problems with it, but that's kind of my opinion. Yeah, I got that Herman Miller chair. Got that Aeron. I got it used from someone in my neighborhood, which was pretty nice. People are always trying to sell Aeron chairs. All right. What are we doing? I feel like the last thing I'm thinking about, like I want to wrap up soon-ish. The last thing I want to do, oh, you know what we should do is we should integrate this node ID stuff because other people have done that before. So check this out. If you go to the statements page, let's kill this thing. It's not doing anything good. Show statements or something. No, that's not a thing. Let's just run some. I just want to run any SQL. Select one. Okay, so if I go to the statements page and I click this, and then I click execution stats, you see there's this stats by node thing. I can actually click. This is like, it breaks down each of the stats by node in the cluster. Right now I only have one node in my cluster, so it's sort of pointless. But what's kind of neat is that you can actually click on this link and it jumps you to the information about a particular node. That was a really ugly jump, but anyway, the point is that, you know, I can get all this information about what's happening on this particular node in the cluster, which is neat. And I think we should add that to our currently active sessions page too, right? Like this session, it's pinned to a particular node, no matter what. And it would be neat to know information about that node. So let's see how they did it and we can add it. What's with the double underscores and dashes? You know, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to this question. I think somebody told me on stream that it has something to do with like a CSS convention for separating components. But I actually don't know what the convention is. I'm just copying what other people are doing, which is working out really well. So thank you to whoever made up these conventions. They're really effective at letting you follow patterns. So what I want to do is go to this statements details page again and see how they do these node links. Stats by node. It's also a Python. Well, in Python, it's very different. In Python, it's like about showing like things that are private, right? Private is single underscore. Oh yeah, you're right. Double, I forget what the double underscore thing is for. Things like initializers, right? How long did it get used to the ergo docs? It took a little while, not too long. I think the hardest thing is trying to remember, like, you know, you're supposed to type Y with your right hand, but it's sometimes people type with their left hand. It's just those like border keys that are kind of tricky. BEM, block element modifier. Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds like something was telling me. Some people were talking about that before. Block element modifier. Interesting. Right. So what I wanted to just do is figure out how they did this node link. I just want to do that. Shouldn't be so bad. Make nodes columns. Statement table cell dot node link of node names. Okay, so there's a component called a node link, and it takes a list of names and a single ID. That's a little weird. Why would it take multiple names? I don't get that. Kind of seems like it takes a single name. So. Do I want to make the node clickable like the other page? Yeah, I do. Mario stream when? I really want to do, so I'm working on my PB of Quickie World 2, which is currently at like many hours. But if I can get it about at approximately like 1 to 2 hours, I will stream it. I'm excited for that. It should be really, really fun. But I'm not ready yet. It drives you to making a component, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. It definitely does. But I have this component, this node link component. It doesn't drive you? What do you mean? This thing is a component. And I guess it doesn't really seem to be doing its thing though. Like, I think what this is saying is it's giving me a link to node props, node ID, and then it's giving me a tooltip. But like for some reason, the tooltip isn't really like really working. Or wait, no, it's not a tooltip. Sorry, what am I saying? It just says tooltip. I don't get the point of that, but this is really just the like innards of the link, the text of the link. I don't understand why it's plural though. Oh, it's because this is a map. It's a map. So I need to pass in the map as well as the ID of the thing that I'm looking at. Okay, we can make that happen. We can make that happen. So where do we get that map? Where do we get that map? Statements table content. Where do we get that map? I bet it's like it's stored in our state. That would be my guess, right? So if I go to, probably in the statement details page, there's presumably this dot props. Oh, it's in our props. I still don't quite get the difference between props and state, but I'm working on it. So I think I would want to add it to our own props in section details. So over here. And then how do we populate it? We populate it down below in map state to props. Node display name by ID selector of state. If it's distributed, wouldn't that also make it not a single node, but multiple nodes? Does the API output transform the single into a list? In this particular case, this session is like, it has a particular gateway, and that's the thing that I'm trying to print out. Am I using sagas? I have no idea. I think a saga is like a front-end transaction or something. Is that right? I don't know what a saga is. Okay, so we're gonna grab this. And in our session details, it looks like there's already sort of components made for this. So I can just paste in this here. So now I've got node names. And then when I actually go to make this node link, I think I can just kind of do it, right? So I want to put it maybe over here inside of session details.
Computers hooked into over 1,000 databanks throughout the world.
Yo, DSN Eves, thanks for that follow. Sorry for that busted notification. I gotta fix that. Really gotta fix that. So I'm gonna, right here, I'm gonna put div. I guess I could just copy this. I'm gonna call this, I'm gonna call it gateway node. Sagas are an awesome way to organize things like jobs in the backend. Oh, that's cool. I don't know. I should learn about that. I don't know how it works at all. So I think in here, what I think I would do is just sort of instantiate this, like, or use this call, I guess you should call it, this node link component. Isn't it called node link? Do I have to import it? I thought it was called node link. Did I make that up? Statement details. What happened? What happened? Oh, it's in this other file. Statement table cell.node link, and that gives me back some. Yeah, it does give me something called a node link. So, oh, but I've defined it in here. So I guess I just have to import it. I guess I have to export this from here, right? Is this not a component? I don't. Is a component just like kind of an anonymous function? Could that be right? I don't know. Should I just copy this thing? Is there like a place where I could put shared components, like a node link? I don't know. But I can import it from here. I guess it doesn't really matter. So my node ID is going to be, it's going to be session dot node ID, and I also need node names is equal to props dot this dot props node names. Yeah, seems to be unhappy though, not sure why. Maybe it's because of this. Do I need a comma? No, that seems to work. It was just slow to compile. Modern components are just anonymous functions that take a props and return a componentry. Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, I see what you mean. Not necessarily anonymous. Type number is not assignable to type. Oh, that makes sense. How do I stringify this? To string. value of toString. What is this about? I don't understand exactly. Oh, was it just complaining that I had an empty tag with nothing inside? Perhaps that was the issue. I don't know, whatever. Okay, so back to this. Now I have a nice little gateway node. Like, it's not very, I mean, it looks very horrible. And I've got this extra crap in here, which I'm not sure why. Why do I have that extra crap? What gave me that extra crap? What could that be caused by? I don't get it. There's nothing in... What is the deal with that? I should use the component inspector for this. Sartak. The component inspector says... The component inspector isn't telling me jack. Unfortunately. Ah, I'm getting tired. It's obvious. Okay, does the node link component define those? No, I'm just being a total dumbass due to sleepiness. I think it might be time to wrap up. But this is great. I think we've made quite a bit of progress. Does the link work? The link works. The link works. Yeah, thanks, thanks everybody. Appreciate that. Yeah, you know, I think we're good. I think we've done a lot. Let's just do this select PG sleep again. You know, take a look. What does this look like? You know, we've got the active statement. We've got the stuff. I think we've done quite a good thing here today. We've done quite a good thing here today. I'm feeling pretty excited about it. A lot of progress for sure. I think we're gonna wrap up. But thanks everybody for stopping by. This was a really fun stream. It was really fun to do front end. I like this a lot. I think it's a little bit more accessible sometimes to do something that's visual because it's more interesting. People can follow along, right? I think with the backend, sometimes you can't even at all follow along what the heck is going on. So it gets a little bit like dicey, I want to say. But let's go ahead and find someone to raid. So we can send somebody. Oh, you know who we should really raid? I know who you should really raid. It's a little bit random, but it's a good friend of mine. And they're playing this game called Sekiro. I don't know if you've played it, but it's a great one. And so say hello to this Portuguese captain. Good streamer, really good streamer. Great at commentating. The game is pretty fun to watch. I was watching him the other night. But do say hi. And you guys, I stream every Friday. I stream every Sunday. 3 p.m. on Friday, 6 p.m. on Sunday, and that's all EST. So stop by again. It's great to see all of you. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.